Chapter 1130. The 10 Swords sect wanted it. His words revealed a domineering aura. Coupled with the domineering appearance of the other party riding a sword, it was quite imposing. If this matter fell on someone else, it might have succeeded. However, this group of people just so happened to meet Li Zhongjiu. Zhou Bachuan did not say much and directly swallowed the pill. The eagle-faced elder of the 10 Swords sect was called Huang Ming. He had clearly given the order, but Zhou Bachuan still ate the pill. It was obvious that he was going against them. He was stubbornly resisting. Since he wanted to resist, he had to pay the price in blood. What is the 10 Swords sect? Li Zhongjiu said faintly. 10 figures flew over on flying swords in front of him. Everyone stood on their flying swords and floated in the air. Some of them had even assumed an attacking posture. Several flying swords hovered behind them, ready to control the flying swords to stab Li Zhongjiu and take away Li Zhongjiu's life at any time. The sword formation formed was quite imposing. However, Li Zhongjiu had seen these methods in his previous life. The 10 Swords sect. In his previous life, it was also an extremely arrogant sect. Because this imperial sword art was very exquisite, very few people could compete with the swords in their hands. In addition, this kind of move was very rare to begin with. Under dangerous circumstances, there would often be results. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu had taught them a lesson and even took away their sect treasure, the sword technique. After observing it for a while, he found that it was just a sword technique. It was not very profound, and its power was only average for experts. However, for people with weak strength, it could be used to create such a flashy technique that dazzled people. If it was used as a performance at the sect's celebration, it was not bad. How dare you insult the 10 Swords sect? You're courting death. A young disciple wanted to step forward and show his status and strength. He pointed with his finger, and 2 swords were immediately unsheathed on his back. They turned into cold shadows and swept toward Li Zhongjiu. Be careful, my lord. Zhou Bachuan could clearly see the trajectory of the flying sword. He wanted to block it, but his body went limp. The energy in his body had yet to recover, so he didn't have enough strength. Whoosh! Ding! Li Zhongjiu raised his left hand and easily caught the flying sword that was flying towards him. As for the other flying sword, he flicked it lightly with his little finger, and it shattered with a crisp sound. Humph! The disciple who attacked also let out a muffled groan because his flying sword was shattered. It was clear that he had suffered serious internal injuries. Kill! Flying swords! Huang Ming ordered. With a wave of his sleeve, 10 flying swords whizzed out. The rest of the people also made their moves. The 10 or so swords that had been inserted into the ground earlier were also drawn towards Li Zhongjiu. Be careful, my lord. Zhou Bachuan subconsciously opened his arms, wanting to use his body to block these flying swords. Get out of my way. You're in my way. Li Zhongjiu kicked Zhou Bachuan to the ground. This guy liked to make a fuss when he had nothing to do. He didn't seem so fierce when he attacked. There were at least 50 flying swords gathered together. The momentum formed by this sword formation was enough to collapse a mountain. If there was water below, it would have formed a water tornado. The flying swords attacked from all directions. However, Li Zhongjiu still swung the unparalleled sword in his hand in the face of the opponent's sword formation attack. Buzz! The razor-sharp sword intent easily destroyed the swords in front of him as though they were made of tofu. They were all shattered. Bang! 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 When the flying swords were shattered, the people of the 10 Swords sect in the sky spat out blood. The refining of these flying swords required a long time of spirit and hard work. Only then could one achieve the unity of man and sword. Their minds were connected and they could use the flying swords better. In fact, this was just a shortcut. If one really wanted to reach the realm of one with the sword, it still depended on one's own comprehension. This was a mysterious realm. The imperial sword technique of these people was just some flashy moves. Now, all the flying swords were shattered. This was a situation that the people of the Ten Swords sect had never encountered. How could they bear it? The blood in their bodies was boiling and they wanted to vomit blood. They wanted to calm their injuries. How dare you show off in front of me with this level of strength? Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. When Huang Ming saw that the opponent was strong, he released a signal without hesitation. They had to call for reinforcements. Otherwise, everyone would die here. High in the sky, several terrifying sword chi broke through the air. The domineering sword essence completely sealed off the surrounding space. There were 5 people in total. Li Zongjiu waved the unparalleled sword in his hand. The sword chi slashed toward the 5 people. Even though the 5 people in front of him had a powerful aura, they could not resist the sharpness of Li Zongjiu's unparalleled sword. Boom! The 5 people who came to help didn't even have time to show their faces before they were killed by Li Zongjiu. 5 streaks of blood exploded in the sky. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. Damn! Huang Ming and the others saw this. Although they were from the same sect, they could not help but cry out when they saw such a shocking scene. When they saw the 5 people who came to help were killed so easily. Huang Ming also knew that he had met his match this time. Huang Ming was embarrassed when he met someone he could not afford to offend. He quickly withdrew his aura and lowered his body. He came to Li Zongjiu and knelt down. I didn't know you were here. Please forgive me for offending you. When he knelt down, Huang Ming regretted his actions. How could he meet such a terrifying person? This guy is just one person. You idiots, hurry up and kneel. Huang Ming glared at the disciples behind him. Immediately, the disciples fell to their knees as well. Just a moment ago, they had been shouting about killing Li Zongjiu. In the blink of an eye, however, they had to kneel before their enemy. Not to mention, Li Zongjiu had easily destroyed the flying swords that they had painstakingly refined. If this was not a life and death feud, then what was it? Please forgive us, Senior. Although he was displeased in his heart, he still begged for mercy on the surface. Li Zongjiu was able to make these arrogant people of the Ten Swords sect kneel down and beg for mercy. It was obvious how terrifying and huge the pressure that Li Zongjiu brought to them was. You know when to yield and when to stand tall. Li Zongjiu glanced at the people of the Ten Swords sect. These people were sensible. Remember my name, Evil Lord. Li Zongjiu left these words and directly grabbed the seriously injured Zhou Bachuan. His body rose into the air and exploded into the sky. Kneel here for 4 hours. Even though Li Zongjiu's figure was far away. However, the people of the Ten Swords sect did not dare to get up easily. At this moment, there were many people walking around the ruins. When they saw the people of the Ten Swords sect kneeling here, they were puzzled and could not believe their eyes. Aren't they the people of the Ten Swords sect? Why are they kneeling here and not daring to move? Huang Ming and the others were under great pressure. They were afraid that Li Zongjiu, who had just left, would come back. There were many ways for such an expert to find trouble with you. There were even many ways to find out if you were obedient. If he really came back and saw that they did not follow the rules, there would be no chance for regret. Even though the people around them were mocking and pointing at them. Huang Ming and the others kept their heads down and did not dare to get up. There were more and more people watching. Even Gong Yu and the others who had just walked out of the Demon Suppression Palace. They also saw the people of the Ten Swords sect kneeling in front of them. I heard that an expert called Evil Lord made them kneel here to be punished. An insider said. After Gong Yu and the others heard this, their pupils contracted slightly. It's this Evil Lord again. Chapter 1131. The people of the Ten Swords sect knelt for 2 hours, and when the time was up. Immediately, the people of the Ten Swords sect disregarded everything and fled into the distance. Today, they had lost all their face. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. After returning, they would have a good rest, and then come back to find trouble with this evil lord. The appearance of the demon-suppressing palace was naturally unavoidable, and many people wanted to explore and search for treasures. The 9 cities became the first stronghold of the demon race after their appearance. If the experts who came later wanted to enter, it was very easy for them to be sneak attacked by the demon race. Unless they were an expert or were confident in their own means. Later on, no one dared to approach this place easily. However, these demon race who were originally sealed were so easily released. Another disaster of the demon race would sweep across the entire Holy Martial continent. Li Zongjiu naturally knew that with the appearance of the demon race, the entire continent would fall into a state of war. No matter how powerful one was, one wouldn't be able to prevent such a thing from happening. Could it be that Li Zongjiu guarded the entrance with his sword and killed all the people who came in to destroy the tombstones? Or could it be said that the demon race had escaped? If Li Zongjiu saw the demon race wreaking havoc in the continent, he might take care of it. However, Li Zongjiu didn't have the leisure to take the initiative to eliminate the demon race. There were many things waiting for him to do, and he had never disdained to be a savior. If these demon race came to his door to die, Li Zongjiu wouldn't mind sending them on their way. However, the other forces of the continent would definitely organize to encircle and annihilate the devil race. This was because the energy of the devil race was extremely pure. If they were beaten back to their original form, the devil crystals they formed would also be very useful. However, it wasn't so easy to achieve this. It was not a simple task to kill the devil race. Li Zongjiu returned to Heichu Royal City. Li Yun was in Wanyong Marquis Mansion, and Wan Yulan seemed to be gathering people to prepare for a tough battle. However, they soon saw Li Zongjiu and Zhou Bachuan descending from the sky. This efficiency was truly indescribable. "Zongjiu, you're back." Li Yun stepped forward and said in surprise. Seeing that Li Zongjiu had returned safely, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. When Li Yun told Wan Yulan about the arrival of Lu Baixian and Soul Slayer Supreme, Wan Yulan almost fainted from fright. 5 Supreme Being experts. This was no joke. Moreover, 3 of them were experts from the Haotian sect. As for Soul Slayer Supreme, he was the Deputy Palace Master of Black Canal Basilica. Each of them was an extremely important figure. Even if they didn't join forces, they were still a great threat to Li Zongjiu. However, it was good that Li Zongjiu had returned. "Where's Senior Supreme Flame?" Wan Yulan breathed a sigh of relief, but when she looked around, she didn't see the King of Fire. "Well, she went to travel and broke through," Li Zongjiu said in a deep voice. Although the King of Fire had become a weapon spirit and couldn't appear for the time being, it was as if he had fallen into a state of suspended animation. However, Li Zongjiu was confident that he could awaken the weapon spirit. When the time came, the King of Fire would be resurrected, but he wouldn't be able to condense a real body, and at the same time, he wouldn't be able to leave the range of 10 steps from the unparalleled sword. The reason why he told them that he had gone to travel was to prevent Li Yun from worrying. Moreover, the existence of the unparalleled sword itself would become a secret. It couldn't be easily told to others. He went to travel again. He won't encounter any danger again, right? Hearing that he had gone to travel, Li Yun seemed very understanding. After all, with her master's cultivation, if he didn't travel often, he would be very bored and wouldn't know what to do. While traveling, he could find some deeper insights that would allow him to break through. Therefore, it was a common thing for the strong. However, after experiencing the incident with Wu Tian, Li Yun obviously had a lingering fear. After all, Wu Tian's strength was very strong and almost had the ability to reach the heavens, so it was better to be careful. If it was in the past, Li Yun's crow's beak would probably be right. But now, he really wouldn't encounter any other danger. He just stayed in the unparalleled sword. Even if Li Zongjiu died, as long as the unparalleled sword was still there, it would appear one day. It seemed that he had obtained the power of immortality, but in fact, he had lost his freedom forever. Although Li Zongjiu said it casually, Wan Yulan realized that something was wrong when she thought about it carefully. According to what they said before, the King of Fire should have just broken through to the Supreme Being realm. If he had just broken through, he should find a safe place to consolidate his realm. However, although she saw the clues, Wan Yulan didn't point it out. It wasn't easy to say. Since Li Zongjiu didn't want to reveal it, she naturally wouldn't ask. This time, the appearance of the Demon Suppression Palace released a large number of demons. Now, the demons will definitely make a comeback. Wan Yulan's eyes revealed a heavy sense of melancholy. They had just dealt with the Black Canal Basilica, and now the demons were in chaos. Life was really difficult. This is an opportunity. Only by suppressing the demons and returning peace to the world can the royal family, which you assist, be considered to have contributed. If this doesn't work, then what's the point of having an emperor? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. After hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Wan Yulan also looked over. This reminder made Wan Yulan's heart quite shocked. It was as if layers of clouds had been lifted, and it was like a bright mirror pointing the way in front. Indeed, if the world was peaceful, the royal family wouldn't have any contributions. How could they have credibility? So this was a chance. Thank you, Lord Evil Lord, for your reminder. Wan Yulan hurriedly said. Obviously, this was also a joke. At the same time, it was also testing her relationship with Li Zongjiu. After understanding the gap between her and Li Zongjiu, Wan Yulan was also worried that she could no longer be friends with Li Zongjiu. After all, the gap between them was too big. You can just call me by my name, Li Zongjiu said. Wan Yulan was also delighted when she heard this. Fortunately, Lu Baixian and the others turned back and didn't meet you. However, there's no time to lose. You must leave the Haiku dynasty immediately. If they come out of the Demon Suppression Palace, they will definitely find trouble with you, Wan Yulan said. Lu Baixian. He's already been killed by me. Could it be that he's just a clone? Li Zongjiu said doubtfully. What? Dead? Wan Yulan and Li Yun were also shocked. There's 5 of them. Li Yun spread out her palm and said, indicating that her 5 fingers represented the number of enemies. Yes, there's 5 of them. I killed them all. Li Zongjiu confirmed again. Chapter 1132. They were all killed. It sounded simple, but the content was enough to shake the entire Haiku dynasty. There might even be a world of difference. Li Zongjiu's words were never exaggerated. They were all serious statements, so much so that it sounded as simple as stepping on 5 ants. No one would have thought of how serious this matter was. Those were 5 Supreme Being experts. Wan Yulan immediately sent her subordinates to pay close attention to the information in order to find any useful information. At the very least, they had to know the situation of the deputy sect leader of the Haotian sect and the deputy palace master of the Black Canal Basilica. The fall of 5 Supreme Being experts was so quiet. It was estimated that even if Li Zongjiu killed a chicken, it would be more sensational than this. The most sensational thing about Li Zongjiu was that he made the people of the 10 Swords sect kneel for 4 hours before they dared to leave. This matter could be said to be truly earth-shattering. One could feel the deep shock just by looking at it. This kind of thing was hard to explain. Only when one saw it at the scene would one know how shocking it was. Li Zongjiu, Li Yun, and Zhou Bachuan temporarily stayed in the Marquis Wanyong's residence. Firstly, Li Zongjiu had made a breakthrough and needed to stabilize his realm. Secondly, Zhou Bachuan also needed to recall all his subordinates so that they could follow Li Zongjiu to the Xingyan dynasty. Li Yun was also very happy to know that Zhou Bachuan had actually joined Li Zongjiu's team. This was an extremely strong team. If they could get the support of Zhou Bachuan and the others, it would be equivalent to their strength rising by several levels. It was like adding wings to a tiger. As for Wan Yulan and the others, they didn't have the time to entertain Li Zongjiu and the others. The encirclement of the remnants of Black Canal Basilica, as well as the appearance of the demons and the chaos in the city were enough to keep them busy. Since the Marquis of Wanyong's manor was carrying the banner this time, the He-Chu dynasty had also entrusted it with a heavy responsibility. At the same time, the He-Chu dynasty also had several supremes who had hidden themselves away from the world and had appeared due to the decline of the He-Chu Holy Temple. Furthermore, under the invitation of the Marquis of Wanyong, he became the Grand Master Protector of the Haiku dynasty. Before he took up the post, he even paid a visit to Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu received them and chatted for a few minutes before sending them away. Only after meeting Li Zongjiu, the evil lord from the Shengyan dynasty, would they be qualified to take up the post of Grand Master Protector of the state. These supreme stage powerhouses were willing to come out of seclusion because of many reasons. 2 days later, Li Zongjiu's realm stabilized. Feeling the improvement of his realm, he looked at the unparalleled sword in his hand. With the unparalleled sword, Li Zongjiu's cultivation became more outstanding. The blood dragon's soul is now useless. I have to refine pills to condense it again. The blood dragon's soul was really desperate. However, it was also because of the blood dragon's soul's persistence that Li Zongjiu and the others survived. Li Zongjiu called a maid, Yu Dai. Yu Dai was specially left by Wan Yulan to follow Li Zongjiu's orders. She also gave Yu Dai absolute authority. As long as it was Li Zongjiu's request, she had to fulfill it no matter what. Even if she used all the power of the Wan family. First, he wrote a list of herbs and handed it to Yu Dai. Yu Dai hurriedly sent someone to do it. However, there were many kinds of herbs, and it would take at least half a day. Li Zongjiu simply walked out of Wanyong Marquis Mansion to take a breather. Zhou Buchuan originally wanted to bring his subordinates along, but Li Zongjiu refused. I'm just going out for a stroll. I'm not going to rob people. You just need to protect my cousin. Most of Zhou Buchuan's subordinates had already gathered, and there was still a small number of them on their way. Although the main area was the old haunt of the 9 cities, there were still some troops left in other cities in case of emergency. Originally, there were a total of 400 people. Currently, there were more than 300 people gathered. Thinking about it, with Li Zongjiu's cultivation, what kind of danger could he encounter? He came to this bustling street. In fact, Li Zongjiu yearned for a simple and low-key life. After reaching the peak in his previous life, he had always been like this. However, in this life, his parents were still alive, and his family was still alive. How could he be at ease? If he wanted to protect his family and his people, he had to work hard to become stronger. Therefore, even after his rebirth, Li Zongjiu had never thought of relaxing at all. He was always tense. This time, with Li Zongjiu's current strength, he could truly heave a sigh of relief. He sat at a small stall on the street and ordered a bowl of Sanxian fried noodles. And while Li Zongjiu was waiting for the noodles to be served, he was also looking at the various expressions of the people. At this moment, a woman in white came over like a gust of spring wind. She floated over and sat opposite Li Zongjiu. Can I sit here? Gong Yu asked softly. However, she had already sat down and looked like she wasn't going to get up. Up to you. Li Zongjiu said. He didn't look at Gong Yu in front of him, but continued to look at the busy traffic. There were a few children chasing kites, acrobatics, storytelling on the bridge. Candied Hawthorne, you are senior evil lord? Gong Yu said softly. When she said this, she felt a little shy because Li Zongjiu was younger than her, but now she had to call Li Zongjiu senior. Li Zongjiu seemed to have finally paid attention to Gong Yu. He looked at the young and beautiful girl in front of him. What's the matter? When Li Zongjiu found that he didn't know the girl in front of him, he couldn't help but frown. To Li Zongjiu, it didn't make much difference whether she was good-looking or not. If she was a friend, he naturally wouldn't care about her looks. If she was an enemy, he would kill her with a sword. It didn't matter whether she was good-looking or not. When your head was cut open, everything that was good-looking would become ugly. Senior, thank you for saving my life. I'm here to thank you. There's no need to thank me. Do you eat noodles? Li Zongjiu waved his hand casually. He didn't care when he saved Gong Yu's life. Now was the time to eat. Fighting and killing were temporarily put aside. Ah! Gong Yu was stunned. She didn't understand what Li Zongjiu meant. Boss, another bowl of san xian fried noodles, slightly spicy. Yes, sir. The fire in the coal stove was suddenly lit. The big ladle and the iron pot clanged loudly. When the steaming hot fried noodles were placed in front of Gong Yu didn't even react. What was going on? Was he inviting her to lunch? Eat, it's delicious. Li Zongjiu ate without hesitation. Chapter 1133. This might be the most inexplicable meal that Gong Yu had ever had in her life. To be precise, it was a bowl of noodles. She had intended to express her gratitude and at the same time, wanted to know the background of this young genius who had such terrifying strength. However, after sitting down, she found that Li Zongjiu seemed to have no interest in talking. He didn't care about anything else and directly ordered a bowl of noodles for her. It was such a greasy thing. Although it looked delicious, for a girl, it was a little too heavy. However, Gong Yu also ate happily. At first, she was wary of Li Zongjiu, but as she ate, she gradually calmed down. While Gong Yu was eating the noodles, she suddenly realized that it had been a long time since she had been able to sit quietly and eat noodles. She had always been running around for cultivation. Even if she wasn't cultivating, there would definitely be other things to disturb her. Even Gong Yu recalled her original intention of cultivating, which was to be able to travel around the world. However, even though she had the cultivation, she was entangled by various things and couldn't roam freely. During this time, Li Zongjiu added some vinegar for Gong Yu. Thank you. Gong Yu said. At this moment, she seemed to understand why Li Zongjiu's cultivation was so high. It was because Li Zongjiu's state of mind was incomparably peaceful. It was enough to be able to maintain such a state of mind in this chaotic world. After eating the noodles, Li Zongjiu paid. He turned around and disappeared into the crowd. Gong Yu didn't chase after him. To be able to have such a meal with Li Zongjiu, for Gong Yu, was already a great guide. Sometimes, when we contact and visit some experts, it's not because we want them to impart some experience directly, but because we can feel a trace of a different realm through the interaction with them. Thus, we can be enlightened. Therefore, this was a kind of infectious power. Although Gong Yu only ate a bowl of noodles, her enlightenment was extremely deep. As expected of Senior Supreme. Gong Yu sighed in her heart. Then, she turned around and headed back to her sect. It was time to put down the affairs of the sect. Because of the shackles of the sect, her cultivation realm had stagnated for a long time. After returning this time, he must relax his mentality and properly seek a breakthrough. Next time, it's my turn to treat you. Fighting spirit was once again ignited in Gong Yu's eyes. It was as if the gloominess and impurities that had accumulated in her heart for many years had disappeared today. She once again felt as if she had been reborn. Li Zongjiu didn't know that eating a single bowl of noodles would bring such a huge change and enlightenment to Gong Yu. The girl sitting across from him just now was indeed not weak. If he knew about the changes in Gong Yu's heart, he would definitely know that this girl's talent was not simple. She was able to see through his mental state so quickly. If he gave her some pointers, her future achievements would definitely be limitless. When passing by some medicinal shops, he also bought some medicinal herbs. The wealth in Li Zongjiu's hands now was enough to allow him to achieve the freedom of medicinal herbs. When he had the strength, these things like money were just a joke. If he really couldn't do it, he could just snatch it. Returning to the Marquis mansion. Yu Dai had already sent someone to send the medicinal herbs. Li Zongjiu went into seclusion to refine pills. After refining for 2 days, Li Zongjiu finally managed to refine the level 6 high-grade medicinal pill in his hands. This pill was specially designed by Li Zongjiu according to the nature of the blood dragon soul. For a 9th-grade alchemist, it was a simple matter to design a set of pill recipes. Let's call it the blood dragon pill. He swallowed the freshly refined blood dragon pill. He didn't need to spend time to refine it. The blood dragon's soul would absorb the power of the blood dragon pill by itself. After resting for a while, he came out of seclusion. Zhou Bachuan's 400 soldiers had already gathered, and their momentum was mighty. After calling Li Yun, he went to say goodbye to Wan Yulan. Recently, the internal affairs of the Haiku dynasty were extremely hot. Various battles broke out, and at the same time, many talents and heroes appeared. Furthermore, it also made Wan Yulan and the others' fighting spirit soar. There was a feeling of 1,000 things waiting to be done. When the situation in the dynasty is stabilized, I will definitely go to the Shengyan dynasty and thank you personally. Wan Yulan said. Now, Wan Yulan was also an official. The imperial court appointed Wan Yulan with an important task. She was conferred the title of General Yuquan and led 50,000 elite soldiers under her, named the Yuquan Army. It's up to you. If you need anything, just send someone to tell me. Li Zongjiu said. One must know that Wan Yulan was also one of his aides in the White Deer Mansion. Speaking of the White Deer Mansion, there was nothing to say. All kinds of experts gathered there, and it was very powerful. Now, even a general of the Haiku dynasty came from the White Deer Mansion. Wasn't it awesome? Of course. Wan Yulan didn't say much. Wan Yonggong also saw them off respectfully. Originally, they thought that it would be a long and bitter battle, but because of Li Zongjiu's arrival, it was easily resolved. The huge black canal basilica collapsed in an instant. It was all because of Li Zongjiu in front of them. Evil Lord, Li Zongjiu. This time, the name of Evil Lord would be recorded in the annals of history by Wan Yulan and the others. Li Yun piloted the Qilin warship. Zhou Bachuan and the others boarded the warship one by one. After boarding, Zhou Bachuan began to arrange people to patrol the area. Li Zongjiu and Li Yun were also much more relaxed. At least there were people guarding the area. Even if some bandits saw them, they wouldn't dare to be too arrogant. With a glance, they knew that they weren't people to be trifled with. Where are we going? Li Yun asked. Sunset City. Li Zongjiu said. Li Zongjiu hadn't gone back for a long time, so he also needed to go back and take a look. Moreover, he didn't know how his father's cultivation was going. Last time, he gave him a heavenly dragon pill, and he didn't know how it was going. Zhou Bachuan and the others were so powerful. If they were deployed in Sunset City, they would naturally be able to sit back and relax. As long as no Supreme Being experts came to attack the city, there wouldn't be any problems. Hearing that they could go back, Li Yun's heart was also happy. She hadn't seen her family for a long time. After wandering outside for a long time, she would eventually miss home. The Qilin warship soared into the sky. The security of the airship was handed over to Zhou Bachuan and the others. Each of them stood firmly around the deck like wooden stakes. Food and water for more than 400 people was also a problem. However, Li Zongjiu directly gave Zhou Bachuan a large sum of money and asked Zhou Bachuan to take care of these people. Zhou Bachuan took the money without any hesitation. For many years, they had been living frugally. When they were really poor, they would clear out some bandits. However, that could only last for a while. Now, they had found a long-term meal ticket. Looking at Zhou Bachuan's attentive appearance, Li Zongjiu even thought that he had fallen into Zhou Bachuan's trick. With Li Yun's current driving skills, they would be able to reach Sunset City in about a day and a half. During this time, Li Zongjiu was also doing the same thing. He began to try to refine the soul-subduing flying knife. This soul-subduing flying knife was the magical treasure used to suppress the flame demon emperor. After Li Zongjiu removed the surface defense of the soul-subduing flying knife, he integrated his mental energy into it and began to refine it. At the same time, he felt the majestic power inside the knife. Demon-subduing flying knife. Li Zongjiu sensed it and found that there was a demon-subduing flying knife sealed in it. It could devour the origin energy of the demon race. In other words, every time the knife stabbed, it would absorb a bit of energy, weakening the opponent's strength by a bit. As for humans, the power of the soul-subduing flying knife was enough. With mental energy, it could burst out with 10 times the speed of ordinary weapons. Chapter 1134. Luoxia City. Recently, Luoxia City was really a scene of prosperity. If some of the top families in the dynasty didn't open a branch in Luoxia City, they would feel disgraced wherever they went. Although the scale of Luoxia City wasn't large, and there were some things that ordinary people couldn't afford. However, there had to be a shop on the surface. Because of Li Zongjiu's fame, there were more and more people coming to Luoxia City to visit. The city lord, Yi Chao, had made a lot of money just by collecting the entrance tax and the transaction tax. The so-called transaction tax was in some regular shops. Every transaction had to be recorded and the tax would be paid according to your account book. Hence, Luoxia City became richer and more prosperous. This feeling of prosperity made the city lord, Yi Chao, very happy. However, just a few days ago, the Li family, who had always been invincible and no one dared to provoke them, had met a business rival. It was a sect called the Thunderbolt sect. These people came aggressively and had already smashed many of the Li family's reputation. When the Li family's people came, they were beaten up badly. However, these people knew their limits and did not kill them. It seemed like they had been keeping the Li family in suspense. They directly said that they wanted Li Zongjiu to come out and negotiate. Regarding the Thunderbolt sect's arrogant behavior, the Li family did not reply directly. The Li family did not respond directly either. Instead, they kept retreating, as though they did not care about the Thunderbolt sect at all. However, the more they did so, the more the Thunderbolt sect's people wanted a yard after taking an inch. By now, they had already beaten up some of the Li family's shops until they closed down. They were getting more and more overboard. Finally, Li Tianqing did not want to keep the peace. He asked elder Li Jilyan to bring the heavenly hell python to ask for an explanation. This battle seemed to be effective. The few people in charge of the Thunderbolt sect who showed up were taught a lesson. They were severely injured. It was said that one of them died on the spot. The Li family's reputation returned once again. Recently, everyone in the city had been paying close attention to this matter. When they heard that the Li family had attacked, they all sighed. After today, the Thunderbolt sect would no longer exist. They were just too lazy to be calculative with you. If they were serious, a single slap from him would be enough to turn him into ashes. Did he really think that the Grand Master of the state, Li Zongjiu's family, was a pushover? This was simply unreasonable. He was seeking his own death. He had never thought that someone would seek death in such a way. But no one knew. Li Jilyan was saved by the Sky Blaze Lion. Moreover, in the battle that day, the heavenly Inferno Python had been directly killed. The other party seemed to have come prepared. If not for the fact that they did not expect the Skyblaze Lion to dare to walk out of the Li family's courtyard, they probably would not have let Li Jilyan return alive. The Li family's clinic. Li Jilyan was lying on the bed with serious injuries. He said to Li Tianqing and the others who came to visit, "Don't fall for their tricks. They are here for the meta beast." A primitive emperor-level meta beast was captured alive. What level was this? This was a dozen times more difficult than killing a primitive emperor-level meta beast. Li Tianqing's expression was solemn. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. His Li family could be said to be at its most glorious moment. The wind that could blow at this moment would definitely be a destructive storm, so the Li family had to deal with it carefully. The other party was aggressive, but they did not kill. Their purpose was to provoke the meta beast to come out. Knowing what the other party wanted, they naturally had a plan to deal with it. You should rest first. I will be careful, Li Tianqing said in a deep voice. He left 2 maids to take care of Li Jilyan. Then, Li Tianqing also anxiously discussed this matter with the others. Recently, some of the Li family's rookies had performed well. There were also some elders who were promoted. Li Muyuan, a disciple of a side family who had been wandering outside for many years and had seen the world. Now, he could be considered to have learned and returned. It was said that at his peak, he controlled 3,000 horse bandits and was ready to become an outlaw in the mountains. However, he felt that these people's ambition was not enough, so he just waved his hand and left. He heard that the Li family had the intention to rise recently, so he came back at this time to find a helper and see the trend of the Li family. Now, Li Muyuan was also among the elders. Although many of the elders had objections, they were powerless to refute Li Tianqing's decision. Li Tianqing thought that the Li family's elders were too conceited and had forgotten themselves for a period of time. Therefore, they needed to be properly reorganized. Using the appearance of this young man, they could cleanse the Li family's management. At the meeting, when I was training in the West, I heard of this Thunderbolt sect, Li Muyuan said. Since you have heard of it, why didn't you say so earlier? An elder questioned Li Muyuan and attacked fiercely. Silence, Muyuan, please continue. The great elder, Li Xuelan, said. The position of the great elder naturally needed to be inherited by a person of virtue and prestige. Ever since the previous great elder was purged because he wanted to take over the patriarch's position, the position had been empty. Later, after the reorganization, Li Tianqing invited Li Xuelan to be the great elder and preside over the elder council. As Li Zongjiu's aunt, Li Xuelan was also Li Tianqing's elder sister. In terms of seniority and experience, she naturally had the right to hold the position. Li Zongjiu had left behind many cultivation techniques in the family. The one that Li Xuelan was currently cultivating was also a top-notch cultivation technique called the Fire Phoenix technique. Due to the distance, I was only guessing that these people might have the same name as the group I know. However, yesterday's incident allowed me to confirm that it is the Thunderbolt sect that I have heard of. The reason why the Thunderbolt sect has been pressuring us is to force us to take action. Because what they want is the meta beast in our family, Li Muyuan said. Oh. What do they want the meta beast for? Li Tianqing asked. Because the Thunderbolt sect is a sect that focuses on beast taming cultivation, Li Muyuan said. The Thunderbolt sect specializes in beast taming and most of their members are beast taming masters. Now that we have 2 meta-emperor level meta beasts in the Li family, they are naturally curious as to how we can control these meta beasts so well. Hearing Li Muyuan's words, the crowd came to a realization. No wonder these people had been pressuring them to force the Li family's meta beasts to take action. I see. It's actually for the beast taming method. Many of the elders were puzzled. If they wanted to study the beast taming method, why would they come to their place? Shouldn't they go deep into the mountains and forests to look for meta beasts to study? What kind of logic was this? Moreover, everyone knew that these meta beasts were sent by Li Zongjiu and should have been tamed by the young master. Then why were these people showing off here? The other party must have set up a trap. Therefore, when the 5th elder brought the heavenly hell python over, he fell into the other party's trap. However, they did not expect the heavenly lion to take action. Or perhaps they underestimated the power of the heavenly lion. If that's the case, as long as we don't fall into their trap, they have no other way. Another elder, Li Gui, said. He was also an elder who had returned to the family. Previously, he had always been in hot climates, so his skin was very tanned. He had also changed his name to Li Gui. It was more intimidating. His cultivation level was not weak. He had already reached the Yuan King realm. Chapter 1135. Li Gui was talking about Dianzi Mountain. However, the other party did not come with good intentions. Moreover, the Skyblaze Lion had already appeared once. After it attacked, it would definitely leak some information. If they were caught by the other party, they might already be preparing for a countermeasure. That's true. However, the other party might have other tricks up their sleeves. Li Muyuan nodded. In comparison, Li Muyuan was more in favor of more conservative actions. If they were to rush out recklessly, no one knew what would happen. However, Elder Li Gui was different. He believed in cutting the Gordian knot. If these people were really capable, they would not have waited until now to act. They would have already flattened the Li family. Family head, this matter should be dealt with sooner rather than later. If the other party finds out the trick, we won't stand a chance. I'll volunteer. Tonight, I'll lead a team and flatten the old mansion of the Thunderbolt sect. Li Gui said boldly and decisively. He was ready to go all out. Li Tianqing pondered for a moment before making the decision. All right. Elder Li Gui will be in charge of leading the team. Pick 20 experts from the family to investigate the mansion of the Thunderbolt sect. The most important thing is to find the location of the Heavenly Hell Python. Li Muyuan, bring some men and the Skyblaze Lion to provide support. Once the location of the Heavenly Hell Python is confirmed, take action immediately. There's no need to report. When the Heavenly Hell Python is brought back, I want to see the heads of the people from the Thunderbolt sect on my table. Li Tianqing said. Everyone from the Li family was in high spirits. Finally, they were going to fight a decent battle. The strength of the young family head had also brought them a lot of trouble. No opposing forces had appeared around them. No family had ever dared to challenge the Li family. The more this was the case, the more the Li family members were at a loss. They even started to doubt their own strength. Otherwise, if these people were to go easy on the Li family every day without any threat, how could a family continue to develop? Sooner or later, they would fall into a state of self-destruction. Therefore, Li Tianqing was optimistic about this opportunity. He was prepared to send out all the people from the Li family who could no longer hold back. The rest of you, attack together. Burn down all the shops belonging to the Thunderbolt sect. The people of the Li family had been sullen for a long time. Since they were going to come, then they would directly go all out without any room for negotiation. Although the Li family had always been developing in the Luoxia city, but it didn't mean that they were weak and backward. Although the Li family had always been developing in the Luoxia city, it didn't mean that they were weak and backward. The Li family was not a frog at the bottom of a well. However, just as everyone from the Li family was about to set off, suddenly, a loud and clear roar came from the back of the mountain. Roar! The Skyblaze Lion roared at the sky. Then, a terrifying wave of energy struck, destroying many courtyards of the Li family. In an instant, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. Not good. Li Tianqing and the others' expressions changed. Tian Fei was cultivating in the backyard. Tian Fei could be considered one of the hidden guards of the Li family. Very few people knew of Tian Fei's existence after his death. Tian Fei immediately stood up, and the sword in his hand emitted a terrifying cold light. At this moment, a few huge shadows appeared in the night sky above the Li family. The defensive array set up by Li Yun was activated automatically at this moment. However, it was destroyed in an instant by the other party. Although it didn't play a defensive role, it served as a warning to a certain extent. Li family can forget about sneaking up on us. Today, all the people from the Thunderbolt sect will be here. How about it? In the future, Li family can be removed from Luoxia city. A young voice came from the sky. The aura in the voice was extremely arrogant, and the warning was even more infuriating. Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in the Li family? Everyone was enraged. However, when the elders of the Li family rushed out and saw the 5 shadows that suddenly appeared in the sky, their eyes widened. Meta beasts. 5 meta emperor level meta beasts. Just as everyone from the Li family was exclaiming, Tian Fei, who was in the courtyard, rushed into the sky with the heavenly Xian sword. He turned into a shocking sword aura and attacked one of the meta beasts in the sky. The Sky Blaze Lion followed behind Tian Fei. Roar! As an overlord among the Meta Emperor level meta beasts, how could it tolerate these meta beasts provoking it in its territory? Tian Fei's sword aura shocked everyone who was watching the battle from afar. Tian Fei was fighting against a sky-piercing bull with a sky-piercing horn on its head. Meta Emperor level. The Sky Blaze Lion was also besieged by 3 Meta Emperor level meta beasts. The remaining Meta Emperor level meta beast was attacking the Li family's courtyard below. Qilin Fleet. Fire! Li Xuelan ordered. Suddenly, the cannons were fired and 10 Qilin Fleet rose into the sky from the Li family's courtyard. The meta beast of the opponent looked like a fire fox, but it had a long and thin tail, just like an enlarged rat's tail. Thousand-faced rat-tail fox. It was said that the thousand-faced rat-tail fox was extremely intelligent and could make many different expressions just like a human. Hence, it was called the thousand-faced rat-tail fox. However, one couldn't ignore the latter's combat power and ferocity. Roar! The rat-tail fox was unscathed under this round of cannons. It turned into a ray of light in the sky and rushed towards the Qilin fleet. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the Qilin fleet of the Li family was completely destroyed. All of them exploded and fell from the sky. This fleet posed no threat to the primitive emperor-level meta beasts. It was only when they were attacking some families that they seemed to be slightly more imposing. Li Muyuan, go and save them. Li Tianqing ordered. Yes. Li Muyuan immediately led people to rescue the survivors in the Li family's fleet. The rest, follow me and kill. Li Tianqing finally took action personally. Li Tianqing, who had cultivated the Sky Blaze Lion King technique, raised his hand and unleashed his aura and spirit. The terrifying meta force formed a huge lion's head behind him. Li Tianqing transformed into the Lion King and led many experts of the Li family to kill the rat-tail fox in front. Boom! Suddenly, there was a terrifying battle fluctuation in the sky above the Li family. The terrifying fluctuation shook the entire Luoxia city. Not far from the Li family's courtyard, there was a high-end restaurant belonging to the Li family. At this moment, there were more than 10 figures standing above the restaurant. Only one person was sitting on a mahogany chair. He was dressed in white and held a folding fan in his hand. He looked at the battle in front of him with great interest. I have to say that this Sky Blaze Lion King is really attractive. I didn't come all the way here in vain. How can this group of trash from the Li family have such pure royal bloodline? This is simply a stain on the royal bloodline. Chapter 1136. The young man rubbed a thumb ring on his right thumb. He gazed at the battle in front of him. Under the moonlight and the gentle breeze, he seemed extremely content. The commotion that had erupted in the Li family had alarmed the people in the city. Gu Xuanwu of the Gu family immediately led his men and charged towards the Li family. After all, the two families were allies. How could Gu Xuanwu watch as the Li family was attacked? If anything happened to the Li family, the Gu family would not have a good ending either. Yi Chao and the others stood on the roof of their house and watched the battle. Quick, inform General Feng. Yi Chao knew that he would be crushed to pieces if he approached the powerful aura of the other party. The only thing he could do was to ask for help. It was not that Yi Chao did not want to help. Horses immediately rushed out of the city. However, it would take an hour for them to leave. Would the Li family be able to hold on until then? Li Tianqing fought bravely. The Sky Blaze Lion King mantra was a 6th grade primordial art. Furthermore, he observed the Sky Blaze Lion before him every day. Coupled with the Sky Dragon elixir that Li Zongjiu had given him previously, Li Tianqing's Sky Blaze Lion King mantra was extremely pure. This caused Li Tianqing's elemental formula to be extremely pure and powerful. Under the support and assistance of the Li clan, he was actually evenly matched with the mouse fox in front of him. However, the Li family's house would probably need to be rebuilt. Most of the buildings would be destroyed. Although Tian Fei was only at the Yuan monarch realm, he wielded the Tianqin sword. Even the sky-piercing bull before him had to avoid it temporarily. Furthermore, he had learned the top sword technique from the mystic Yuan sect. Tian Fei also managed to cut off one of the sky-piercing bull's horns. However, he was also sent flying by the impact. When the young man from the Thunderbolt sect saw the state of the sky-piercing bull, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Release the Sky Blaze Python and destroy the Li family as soon as possible. Gather the power of the 6 Yuan beasts and take the Sky Blaze Lion away. But young sect master, the Sky Blaze Python has just been captured. If it is released now and receives too much damage, all our previous efforts will be wasted. You are the young sect master. The man glanced at the person who had just spoken. Immediately, that person trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. He lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything else. Instead, he quickly ordered the people behind him to summon the heavenly hell python. Immediately, there were 3 people dressed in blue and brown clothing behind him. Their figures were arranged in a triangular formation, and their palms were connected. Elemental energy condensed in the middle of the 3 people, turning into a ray of light that shot into the sky. Then, the sky seemed to be cut open. A spatial crack appeared, and the aura of the wilderness was immediately released from the spatial crack. The Thunderbolt sect wasn't just a beast tamer. To be more precise, they were all summoners. The captured meta beast would undergo a transformation and the Thunderbolt sect symbol would appear between its eyebrows. This meant that the meta beast had been tamed by the Thunderbolt sect. The people of the Li family were naturally very familiar with the origin beast that had appeared from the huge spatial crack. Wasn't this the heavenly hell python that had been guarding the Li family previously? It was extremely puzzling that it had actually joined the enemy's camp. A meta beast with an orthodox royal bloodline. This is an extremely rare thing. After the heavenly hell python had been refined by them, the royal bloodline in its body had been activated. The aura that it released now was more than 10 times stronger than before. If he could take down this even stronger heavenly hell lion, he would have an extremely powerful meta beast. A royal meta beast. Just thinking about it made him excited. After the heavenly hell python appeared, it actually attacked the heavenly hell lion directly. After all, the heavenly hell lion was the only one who could match up to it. The heavenly hell lion was already extremely annoyed that it was being pestered by these 3 meta beasts. Now, it realized that its previous underlings actually dared to turn around and attack it. It was simply rebelling. Immediately, the heavenly hell lion let out a ferocious glint. It seemed to have activated the hidden bloodline power in its body. In the face of the battle between the 2 royal bloodline meta beasts, the 3 meta beasts that had surrounded the heavenly hell lion just now gradually retreated. They didn't dare to be in between the 2 meta beasts because they had suffered serious injuries when blocking the heavenly hell lion just now. They were only able to keep their lives because they had more people. Oh. It actually awakened a trace of power under such pressure. Interesting. I will definitely take down this heavenly hell lion. The Thunderbolt sect's junior sect master's eyes shone brightly. He liked this heavenly hell lion very much. It had been a long time since he had encountered such a high-quality meta beast. It would be a waste if such a meta beast didn't follow him. Boom! The battle formation that Li Tianqing and the others had formed was directly destroyed by the sat-tailed fox. Suddenly, the sat-tailed fox's tail curled around Li Tianqing and flung him a few hundred meters away, crashing into countless walls. Even though he had been paying attention to the tempering of his body recently, he couldn't withstand such a strong force and spat out a mouthful of blood. The rest of the people were also knocked down in one move and were sent flying. Tian Fei was also sent flying. The other party's horn had opened up a huge hole in Tian Fei's chest. However, the heavenly hell lion's body had also been slashed open. Moreover, the sword chi had already penetrated the heavenly hell lion's internal organs. The heavenly hell lion had sent Tian Fei flying. At this moment, Tian Fei was sitting on the ground, hugging the Tianqin sword. He was waiting for the heavenly hell lion to attack again so that he could use his last bit of strength to kill it and perish together with it. The heavenly hell lion didn't disappoint Tian Fei. It was determined to trample the person who had injured it to death. Just as the heavenly hell lion was about to charge over, Tian Fei suddenly felt his body turn cold. It was as if there was a gust of cold air surging up from the ground. This gust of cold air sealed Tian Fei's wound first, stopping the blood from flowing out and suppressing the injury. At the same time, icicles suddenly shot out from under the heavenly hell lion's body. Bang! 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 The icicles hit the heavenly hell lion's body and shattered. Only one icicle pierced into the heavenly hell lion's body through the wound. Immediately, the heavenly hell lion roared at the sky. Then, a snow-white figure descended from the sky. Her sharp claws grabbed the heavenly hell lion's head. At the same time, a beautiful figure appeared in front of the heavenly hell lion. Her hand carried a trace of green and blue light and instantly cut the heavenly hell lion's throat. Bang! Fresh blood splattered out. The heavenly hell lion's body fell to the ground with a boom. Chapter 1137. The sudden appearance of this person immediately shocked the people of the Li family. The people from the Thunderbolt sect were also shocked because a primitive emperor-level meta beast had died so suddenly. This wasn't a simple matter. Even the Thunderbolt sect's junior sect leader sat up straight and looked ahead. Interesting. Feng Qingyu arrived in time. The deep freeze snow eagle flipped its body and carried Feng Qingyu towards the Thunderbolt sect's group. Ask for the leader first. Currently, the meta beasts were being held back by the Sky Blaze Lion. However, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Before that happened, they had to capture the leader of the enemy. It's General Feng. The people of Li family exclaimed. Everyone had heard of the relationship between the young sect master and General Feng. However, they knew that General Feng was the one who stopped the enemies of Li family. It was because of Feng Qingyu's protection that Luoxia City was able to survive when they were at their weakest. Now that Li family was in trouble, Feng Qingyu came without hesitation. This touched the hearts of the people of Li family. No. Tian Fei saw Feng Qingyu rushing towards the people of Thunderbolt sect. He didn't know how strong she was, but she definitely had more tricks up her sleeves. How could she be so reckless? He immediately shouted and wanted to stop Feng Qingyu. However, it was too late. Feng Qingyu's figure immediately rushed out. The deep freeze snow eagle turned into a beam of spiritual light and protected Feng Qingyu's figure. Then, her figure suddenly accelerated. She rushed forward. Boom! The young man didn't make a move. Two people beside him stepped forward and pushed their palms forward. The Yuan force in their body instantly turned into a huge mountain. It pressed down on Feng Qingyu. Feng Qingyu didn't reduce her speed. Instead, she increased her speed and rushed forward. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Feng Qingyu arrived in front of the young man. She left an afterimage on the spot and attracted the opponent's attack. The two people who attacked were shocked as they didn't expect someone to be able to escape from their attack. Young sect master. Interesting. Miss, are you willing to be my woman? The young sect master of Thunderbolt sect laughed confidently. Feng Qingyu's reply to the Thunderbolt sect's young sect master was the green mountain spike in her hand. Whoosh! At a distance of less than 30 feet, the green mountain spike in his hand had already exploded with a green light as it charged towards the young man. However, the young man simply did not care about the force that was released. There was a powerful force in his body that easily shattered Feng Qingyu's yuan power. At the same time, a huge tentacle stretched out from the bottom of the chair and swept towards Feng Qingyu. Bang! Feng Qingyu's figure vanished once again. Another afterimage. In terms of battle tactics, Feng Qingyu's battle tactics were most definitely top-notch. She had used so many techniques to lure the enemy that it was simply impossible to tell what the situation was. Rumble. A few black balls suddenly rolled on the roof. When they saw the round ball, they were shocked. Be careful. Boom. Intense flames suddenly soared into the sky. The explosion directly caused the roof to collapse. The few people who were previously standing on the roof and strategizing fell from the roof in a wretched manner. Feng Qingyu's figure appeared 100 feet away, and below her was the deep freeze snow eagle's body. Although the deep freeze snow eagle was only a rank 5 yuan beast, after forming a soul contract with Feng Qingyu, their minds were connected and the effect that they could unleash was even more shocking. However, when the flames dissipated, the chair that the young man was originally sitting on had turned into an extremely strange creature. It looked like an octopus from the deep freeze. Although there was a huge hole in the roof, the young sect master was protected by the octopus. Hence, it did not cause any harm to him. Take her down. Obviously, the young sect master was furious. Feng Qingyu's purpose in coming here was not to kill them directly, but to infuriate them and humiliate them. The young sect master was enraged. No one had ever dared to toy with him like this. He must pay the price for this. The octopus that he was sitting on immediately stretched out its tentacles. It stretched out rapidly and covered the sky as it swung towards Feng Qingyu. Retreat! The deep freeze snow eagle flapped its wings. Its figure retreated rapidly. However, the octopus spat out a mouthful of venom from the hidden hole in its tentacles. Bang! The deep freeze snow eagle was shot down. Feng Qingyu's figure fell in the direction of the Li family. Roar! The sky blaze lion in the sky had crippled the 3 yuan beasts. However, under the entanglement of the sky blaze python's venom, it gradually lost its combat strength. Bang! The sky blaze lion was defeated and fell from the sky. With a loud bang, it landed on the streets of the city. Li Tianqing and the others stood up. Seeing such a tragic situation, their eyes were filled with unwillingness. Fortunately, Li Tianqing had arranged for the younger generation of the Li family to evacuate quickly. At least they were able to hide in a safe place and did not have to die in the Li family. Naturally, the bloodline was preserved. However, it would be difficult to resolve today. The Li family is like an annoying mouse. You are already in my palm and you still want to turn the tables. The young sect master of Thunderbolt sect stood on one of the octopus tentacles and his figure was rising continuously. Like a god looking down on the world, he stared down at the mortals below. Cough cough. Feng Qingyu took a look at her wrist. The venom had entered her body. It was eroding her meridians continuously. She did not have long to live. However, Feng Qingyu did not regret it. She clutched her green peak thorn tightly and stared at the person above. Isn't there someone called Li Zongjiu in the Li family who is very powerful? Why? Are you afraid after seeing your young sect master? The young sect master of Thunderbolt sect said and laughed loudly. It was as though he was the only one in this world. The other yuan beasts roared into the sky, except for the sky piercer bull that was killed by Feng Qingyu. Just as the young sect master was laughing loudly. All of a sudden, a rumbling sound came from the sky. Following that, a voice filled with disdain and extreme anger was heard. "Oh. You want me to come and see you?" The voice seemed to have come from the sky. At first, it was clear and distinct. However, in the blink of an eye, the voice turned into rolling thunder. Everyone in the Li family had hope in their eyes again. Young Sect Master. Chapter 1138. As the roar got closer, a powerful light spread across the sky. The Chilan battleship was equipped with night lights. If the lights were turned on at full power, they could light up the surroundings within a radius of 500 meters. At this moment, the cannon of the battleship was pointed at the people in front. The young master of Thunderbolt's sect, Sang Yu, had a cold and arrogant smile on his face. However, Sang Yu's body did not move at all. He simply allowed the cannon to aim at him. It was not that Sang Yu did not want to move, but there was a powerful will on him that made him unable to move at all. Then, a person walked out from the deck. It was Li Zhongjiu. When Li Zhongjiu appeared, Li Tianqing and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief. This brat still knows to come back. Quick, go and save Miss Feng. She is poisoned. This is the antidote. Let her take it. Li Muyuan immediately rushed towards Feng Qingyu. Feng Qingyu also raised her head and looked at Li Zhongjiu. Could it be that this guy is a genius? He always appears at the most crucial moment without any suspense. Boom! Boom! Loud bangs could be heard. Zhou Bachuan led his men and immediately formed a protective array to protect the members of the Li family. Just looking at Zhou Bachuan's body made them feel safe. Are you Zhongjiu's friends? Li Tianqing looked at Zhou Bachuan in front of him and wondered about the latter's identity. The latter's aura was not weak. Zhou Bachuan greets the family head. Li Zhongjiu is our lord. Zhou Bachuan said to Li Tianqing if Zhou Bachuan did not even have such a keen eye, he would not be able to stay in the Li family. I see. Thank you for your trouble. Zhou Bachuan nodded. Pull back the formation and defend to the death. Team 2, assist in rescuing the wounded. In Zhou Bachuan's team, there were also people who had specialized in first aid. The team of 400 people moved in an orderly manner. Even in such a chaotic situation, they were still able to demonstrate their high quality. Feng Qingyu glanced at the military formation of Zhou Bachuan and the others. With just one glance, she was stunned by this high-quality troop. This was clearly a troop that only an army god could lead. The aura of the entire troop was condensed into one. Even the slightest movement of the leader was enough. He could understand it immediately. Therefore, when it came to deployment, there was no need for any superfluous words. Where did Li Zhongjiu find such a powerful troop? The experts from the Thunderbolt sect seemed to have sensed that something was wrong with Sang Yu. In the face of Li Zhongjiu's aggressive pressure, the usually arrogant young sect master was actually indifferent. It was hard to believe. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Li Zhongjiu looked at Sang Yu and said indifferently. At this moment, Sang Yu was already sweating profusely. This was because he realized that he was as weak as an ant in front of Li Zhongjiu. In front of him, Li Zhongjiu was 100 feet tall giant. In the face of such absolute strength, he did not dare to have any thoughts of resistance. This was an absolute suppression. Save the young sect master. The people from the Thunderbolt sect finally realized that something was wrong. Subsequently, they joined forces and opened the gate of summoning. Suddenly, dozens of primitive emperor-level meta-beasts filled the sky. When they saw the appearance of these meta-beasts, the people from the Li family below also widened their eyes. These people possessed such terrifying strength. They were just toying with them just now. Otherwise, these dozens of primitive emperor-level meta-beasts could instantly destroy the entire Li family. If they wanted to, destroying the entire Luoxia city would be a piece of cake. It was unbelievable. Damn, it seems like those guys are completely terrified. What level is the young sect master's strength at? Li Gui looked up at the scene in the sky, his eyes were filled with shock. At the same time, he looked at his young sect master with interest. This was also his first time seeing the legendary young sect master. Isn't the young sect master at a disadvantage? A disciple of the Li family couldn't help but ask. The dozens of primitive emperor-level meta beasts could feel the destructive aura that was close to them, but they had no way to avoid it. If it wasn't for the young sect master's strength that made them afraid, they wouldn't have released their trump card. Look, the young sect master's appearance has forced them to prepare for an attack. Isn't that enough proof? Hearing Elder Li Gui's words, the surrounding Li family disciples also immediately understood that this was indeed the case. Release our young sect master immediately, or I will bury your entire Li family. An expert from the Thunderbolt sect said. He was also the one with the highest status and strongest strength in this group. His summoning technique had been cultivated to the 6th level, and he could even mobilize 6th grade primitive emperor-level meta beasts. The heavenly Yama Emperor Python was under his control. However, just as he finished speaking, he saw Li Zhongjiu's figure vanish from the spot. In the blink of an eye, Li Zhongjiu's figure appeared in front of him. The latter was so frightened that he immediately retreated, but Li Zhongjiu had already grabbed his throat first. You want my Li family to be buried with you? Li Zhongjiu's cold eyes pierced into the depths of the latter's soul. At this moment, his perception was infinitely magnified. He could even clearly hear and see Li Zhongjiu's hand exerting force, crushing every inch of his muscles. When his throat was broken. Ordinary people only heard it for a second, a blink of an eye. However, to him, the process was 100 times longer. Kill him. The rest of the Thunderbolt sect immediately summoned all the meta beasts to attack. Facing the dozens of primitive emperor-level meta beasts, Li Zhongjiu also raised his hand. A flame burst out from his palm and covered all the meta beasts in the sky. The flame entered their bodies and covered the dozens of huge meta beasts. None of them were spared. The terrifying flame burned on their bodies. Moreover, the burning speed was extremely fast. Even the primitive emperor-level meta beasts couldn't resist Li Zhongjiu's flame power. They were easily destroyed. What? My meta beasts. There were a total of 16 primitive emperor-level meta beasts. Among them was the heavenly Yama Emperor Python that Li Zhongjiu owned previously. For a meta beast that had betrayed the Li family and injured the Li family, it was useless to keep such a meta beast. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu killed it directly. No matter how strong it was, no matter how precious its bloodline was. After blocking the heavenly Yama Emperor Python and being captured, what it should do was to sacrifice itself. It should be controlled by others to deal with the Li family. The meta beasts in the sky were burned to ashes. 16 sparkling essence cores of meta beasts floated in the sky like 16 stars. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this. It was simply a miracle. They had never seen anyone with such ability. With a raise of his hand, 16 terrifying and ferocious primitive emperor-level meta beasts were burned to ashes. Unheard of. You guys won't have it easy either. Li Zhongjiu looked at the 11 people from the Thunderbolt sect. Including the one he had killed, there were 12 people in total. Now, there were only 11 left. With just a glance, the people from the Thunderbolt sect were injured. At the same time, he coughed out a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky as if he had been severely injured. My origin pearl. My origin pearl is destroyed. My leg. Among them, 10 of their origin pearls were destroyed. When they fell, some of them even broke their legs. Zhou Bachuan's subordinates immediately went forward to control them. Only one person was left standing on the spot, shivering. He had witnessed this terrifying scene with his own eyes. At the same time, he was left alone by Li Zhongjiu. He didn't know what would happen to him. You can go. Go back and tell your sect master to bring more people when he comes. Chapter 1139. Apart from him, everyone else had their elemental pearls destroyed by Li Zongjiu. Since this group of people wanted to touch the Li family, he had to keep them alive and let them feel the warmth of the Li family. The only person who was let go was Wei Guanghua. Wei Guanghua glanced at his heavily injured brothers below. Among these people, there were some whose seniority was even higher than his. Moreover, the young sect master was also below. If he were to leave at this moment, wouldn't he become a deserter? However, Li Zongjiu had killed more than a dozen primitive emperor-level elemental beasts with a raise of his hand. Now, he had destroyed everyone's elemental pearls. As a result, there was no way for them to use their summoning skills anymore. Wasn't it obvious that they had lost? Even if he were to join in, he would only be courting death. Hold on, I'll get the sect master immediately. After saying that, Wei Guanghua actually turned around and fled without hesitation, his figure disappearing into the night. The Thunderbolt sect's battle array came quickly and left quickly as well. After Li Zongjiu and the rest appeared, they defeated the Thunderbolt sect's people easily. They destroyed the Thunderbolt sect's formation. Previously, there were still people who doubted Li Zongjiu's strength and wondered if he was as powerful as the legends said. Today, they finally saw Li Zongjiu make a move. Even the entire Luoxia city saw it clearly. The Thunderbolt sect's young sect master, Sang Yu, finally let go of his body. When Sang Yu turned around and saw that his sect's experts had been defeated by Li Zongjiu. Moreover, the scene of Li Zongjiu killing the elemental beasts with a wave of his hand was still vivid in his mind. Roar! The Sky Blaze Lion suddenly roared and charged towards Sang Yu, who was about to escape. You lowly race, how dare you! Sang Yu turned around and slapped the Sky Blaze Lion. The Sky Blaze Lion opened its bloody mouth and bit Sang Yu's hand, swinging him around. Sang Yu howled in pain in midair. Ah! Let go of me, you beast! Sang Yu's life was naturally not in danger. Now was the time for the Sky Blaze Lion to vent its anger. I'll leave it to you. Don't let him die. Keep him alive for me. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. After receiving the order, the Sky Blaze Lion let out a roar and landed on the ground with Sang Yu. It used various methods to ruthlessly trample on this arrogant guy. Li Yun and Li Zongjiu landed at the same time. Dad, I'm late. Are you alright? Li Zongjiu glanced at Li Tianqing's physical condition. Although he was injured, it wasn't a big problem. We're fine. Quickly go and see Miss Feng. Feng Qingyu. Li Zongjiu naturally saw Feng Qingyu who had come to help. There was even a group of people rushing over from outside the city. Although this lineup was not as elite as Zhou Bachuan and the others, it was enough to make Zhou Bachuan and the others vigilant. Don't be nervous. We're on the same side. Li Tianqing saw that Zhou Bachuan had entered a state of alert. It seemed that as long as he detected a threat, he would extinguish it with lightning speed. He was amazed at the fighting quality of Zhou Bachuan and the others. Feng Qingyu's small group of people had also arrived, but they had missed the battle. However, it was estimated that they would only die if they came. Fortunately, they were late. Although they might not be able to help much, the Li family would definitely remember their kindness. If anything happened to Thousand Horse City in the future, the Li family would definitely not sit idly by. Only at times like this could one see who was willing to go through thick and thin with you. The Li family rested for a while Li Yun guarded Sang Yu, who was being tortured by the Sky Blaze Lion. At this moment, the people of Thunderbolt sect who were being controlled were looking at them with fierce eyes. You bunch of frogs at the bottom of the well. You better let us go quickly. Otherwise, when the sect master comes, not to mention your small Luoxia city, your entire Dinghuan province will be buried with us. The deacon of Thunderbolt sect who was being controlled said fiercely. Obviously, in his heart, Thunderbolt sect was incomparably powerful. Judging from his tone, Thunderbolt sect did not seem to be a sect from the Sheng Yan dynasty. No wonder he had not heard of it before. There was actually such a powerful summoner sect. Zhou Bachuan merely raised his hand, and a warrior next to him stepped forward and hit him in the face with the shield in his hand. Bang! The shield hit 3 of his teeth, and blood spurted out onto the ground. After this one hit, they immediately became obedient. The rest of the people didn't dare to move, and they obediently knelt in front of the Li family. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, he would become such a lowly prisoner? How did you get hurt so badly? Li Zongjiu came to Feng Qingyu. At this moment, Feng Qingyu's face was pale and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. She was half lying on the ground and could not move. Her hand was still holding onto her green peak thorn. Li Muyuan, who was sent to help Feng Qingyu, was standing respectfully at the side. Li Muyuan greets the young master. Ask them to step back. Li Zongjiu said. After that, Li Zongjiu knelt on one knee in front of Feng Qingyu. He raised his hand and placed it in front of Feng Qingyu's body. A gentle wave of yuan power flowed into Feng Qingyu's body. Throughout the process, there was no contact at all. Feng Qingyu's body was in a terrible condition. That damned poison had caused the yuan energy in her body to dissipate rapidly. If it was any later, Feng Qingyu would have turned into a pool of blood. Li Zongjiu's overbearing yuan energy forced the poison out of Feng Qingyu's body. He then fed Feng Qingyu an elixir. He helped Feng Qingyu refine the power of the elixir and at the same time, reformed the deep freeze snow eagle's body. Li Muyuan and the rest stood at the side, staring at Li Zongjiu with their mouths agape. It was as if Li Zongjiu had miraculously pulled a dying man back from the gates of hell. Although she looked extremely miserable, Feng Qingyu's fatal injuries had been completely healed and she was no longer in any danger. Her shattered yuan spirit was also restored at this moment. This was the most amazing part. Generally speaking, if one's yuan spirit was injured, it would take a long time to recover. However, Feng Qingyu's yuan spirit had collapsed just now. The last trace of origin energy was hidden in Feng Qingyu's origin bead. It would take at least a dozen years to refine it again. Moreover, during this process, she would need to constantly feed it with elixirs and various nourishing items. Li Zongjiu restored the deep freeze snow eagle's yuan spirit in the blink of an eye. Li Muyuan and the rest were amazed. Feng Qingyu finally woke up. When she opened her eyes, she saw Li Zongjiu squatting in front of her. Her body trembled slightly and she wanted to get up. You should rest well. Bring her to the medical hall and recuperate. You're not allowed to leave until you're fully healed. Chapter 1140. Feng Qingyu naturally wanted to refuse, but under Li Zongjiu's tyrannical request, she obediently lay on the stretcher and was carried to the medical hall. Today's battle was indeed an extremely tough challenge for Feng Qingyu. If it wasn't for Li Zongjiu's timely return, Feng Qingyu would probably be dead by now. Li Tianqing arranged for people to start cleaning up the mess. As for the people from Thunderbolt's sect who were kneeling, Li Zongjiu ordered them to be tied to the wooden stakes on the drill ground and smeared honey all over their bodies. This group of people who were always clamoring to exterminate someone were all scared witless when the honey was smeared on their bodies. Some of them even begged for mercy. However, no one from the Li family showed mercy. It was useless even if they called for their father. It was cool at night, but many mosquitoes, rats, and ants loved the sweetness of the honey, so there was no need for them to run away. The Sky Blaze Royal Lion came back with a crippled Sangyu in its mouth. In tonight's battle, the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's imposing figure was displayed in front of everyone. It was extremely shocking. Was this the majesty of a Lion King? It was really shocking. It could fight a group of people alone. This was the overbearing charm of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. As for the Sky Blaze Royal Python, it was also extremely despised by everyone. Although the Sky Blaze Royal Python was controlled by someone else and was not of its own accord, it couldn't live if the young master wanted it dead. At the same time, it also taught the Li family a lesson. Anyone who betrayed the family would never be easily forgiven. Even the primitive emperor-level meta beast had no intention of letting it go. It was enough to see how determined Li Zongjiu was. Bang! The Sky Blaze Royal Lion threw Tsang Yu to the ground. Then, it walked to Li Zongjiu's side and lay down to sleep. This battle had consumed most of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's energy, so it needed to recover. Li Zongjiu threw an elixir pill to the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. It seemed like he had to refine the elixir pill for the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. The loyalty of this guy today had exceeded Li Zongjiu's imagination. How do we deal with this guy? I need to retrieve his memory first. Li Zongjiu said. These people who claimed to be summoners obviously had some ability. Otherwise, how could they change the will of the heavenly Yama Python? Logically speaking, if the heavenly Yama Python went against Li Zongjiu's will, it would die immediately. It would die on the spot. Li Zongjiu had already set the red line that these meta beasts could touch. If they touched it, they could only wait for death. It was useless no matter who gave them the chance. They would be killed by the mental strength contract directly. However, the Blaze Royal Python was blocked. If Li Zongjiu hadn't noticed that the situation in Luoxia City wasn't right when he approached it, the Blaze Royal Python seemed to have disappeared. Therefore, he quickly rushed back. Fortunately, he came back in time. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu wouldn't be able to explain himself. He couldn't face it. Although Li Zongjiu looked calm on the surface, he was actually afraid. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu arrived at Luoxia City, the Thunderbolt sect no longer needed to exist. Even if they escaped to the ends of the earth, Li Zongjiu would definitely kill, destroy, and kill them all without hesitation. Li Zongjiu directly pressed his hand on the latter's head. Although Tsang Yu was dying, he still had a breath left. At this moment, Tsang Yu's body was curled up. When he sensed Li Zongjiu's approach, he immediately trembled and felt a bone-chilling coldness. Suddenly, Tsang Yu's body tensed up. Li Zongjiu's power directly poured into Tsang Yu's body. His mental strength also crazily plundered the latter's power. At the same time, he brutally pulled out the information in Tsang Yu's mind and forcibly browsed through it. When Li Zongjiu's power withdrew, Tsang Yu's body fell to the ground. Tsang Yu's body also fell to the ground with a plop. During the absorption process just now, Tsang Yu's body involuntarily rose into the air. When Li Zongjiu digested the memories in Tsang Yu's mind, he couldn't help but sneer. A mere unorthodox sect dares to challenge my Li family. Li Zongjiu had a rough idea of why these people were here. It turned out that they had their eyes on the two meta beasts, the Sky Blaze Lion and the Sky Hell Python. These two meta beasts had the royal bloodline. And Tsang Yu from the Thunderbolt sect just happened to be in need of a breakthrough. Meta beasts with the royal bloodline were very precious to these so-called summoners. Once the royal bloodline was activated, they might even be able to obtain some ancient inheritance. However, it was extremely difficult to capture a primitive emperor-level meta beast alive, especially one that was as powerful as the Sky Blaze Lion, and subdue it. Therefore, Tsang Yu and the others had observed for a few days and formulated a trap and plan. They were prepared to capture them one by one. The so-called summoners were, in fact, just some kind of cultivation method that these people used to superimpose each other's mental strength. Through this method, they gathered their power and opened up a spiritual space. This way, they could contract multiple meta beasts, and those with talent could summon them individually. Basically, a person could only contract 3 meta beasts at most. The dozen people just now could only summon a dozen meta beasts in total. They were really useless. As for Tsang Yu, other than the 8-clawed monster, he did not have any other meta beasts. Therefore, he could not wait to capture the Sky Blaze Lion. Therefore, he attacked directly without any regard for the lives of the Li family members. At the beginning, Tsang Yu was indeed like a high and mighty god. But now, He had become a retard with mental retardation. Bring him to the drill ground as well. Li Zongjiu said. Even if he was a retard, I can't let him off easily. Yes, young master. In tonight's battle, Li Zongjiu of the Li family had once again displayed his terrifying strength. Immediately, the entire dynasty would be drowned by Li Zongjiu's reputation. Li Zongjiu, who had not appeared for a long time, had actually made his move again. Many people were unfamiliar with the name Thunderbolt sect. However, those who had been in the underworld for a long time had vaguely heard of the Thunderbolt sect. When they found out that the Thunderbolt sect had been beaten so badly, they were all shocked and in disbelief. Although the houses were destroyed, it was not difficult to rebuild them. Everyone from the Li family also went to the temporary settlement. This temporary accommodation was called the Zongjiu residence. Li Tianqing had specially built it for Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu had grown up and was going to have children in the future. It would not be appropriate for him to squeeze in the same courtyard as the rest of the Li family. Those who had made some contributions were also given their own courtyard. The Li family did not dare to say anything else, but this was still something that the Li family could do. This name is too direct. Li Zongjiu looked at the plaque and felt embarrassed. However, Li Tianqing did not feel the slightest bit. Chapter 1141. In tonight's battle, although many people from the Li family were injured, fortunately, none of them were sacrificed. Therefore, it could be considered as a great fortune amidst the misfortune. Almost the entire night, the Li family was in a state of excitement. All the injured people were rewarded. This made these people even more determined to die in the Li family in the future even if they had to die. With such a powerful young master, what else was there to be afraid of? However, the destruction of the Qilin battleship made Li Zongjiu a little angry. That night, he sent a message to the White Deer Mansion and rushed to build 2 Eagle battleships. After all, the piloting requirements of the Eagle battleship were higher. It was useless to build more. Hence, he needed Li Yun to take in a disciple or something. After escaping, Wei Guanghua looked like he was possessed. He first found a place to rest. After all, what happened just now was really hard to accept. It was only now that he reacted. He felt a lingering fear and a chill ran down his spine. Luckily, he had escaped quickly. Otherwise, he would have been killed by the other party. Where did that guy come from? Is he Li Zongjiu? How can there be such a perverted person? He's so powerful. Wei Guanghua, who was still in shock, recalled carefully. That Li Zongjiu didn't even use his full strength. He just casually waved his hand and killed all the meta beasts in the sky. How was he going to settle this matter? He had never seen such a situation before. His legs felt like jelly for half a day. No, I have to return to the sect immediately. Wei Guanghua leaped up and headed in the direction of the Thunderbolt sect. He just hoped that nothing would happen to the young master. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive. After dealing with Li Zongjiu, the next person to deal with was him. The Thunderbolt sect was located in an extremely secluded place. It was even located at the borders of the Shengyan dynasty. Wei Guanghua returned to the Thunderbolt sect. In order to prove that he had escaped, Wei Guanghua also broke one of his arms. When he came, he had already thought of all the excuses. He would say that the young sect master was detained by these people. He did not know the specific situation, but these people were obviously here for the sect. This way, it would be much easier to explain. When Wei Guanghua arrived at the main hall of the Thunderbolt sect, he immediately knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. Sect master, bad news, bad news. Young sect master has been captured. The head of the Thunderbolt sect, Zhang Zhu. What? Who is so bold? Zhang Zhu was furious. Although the Thunderbolt sect had always kept a low profile, they had already announced their existence a long time ago. This had given some people on the continent a certain amount of deterrence, letting these people know that the Thunderbolt sect was not to be trifled with. However, they would not take the initiative to stir up trouble. After all, the Thunderbolt sect only liked to stay in small corners and catch meta beasts to nurture them. However, he had never seen a situation similar to today's. Not only did they capture the young sect master, they even said some harsh words. What did they say? They said that we should bring as many people as we have. They are afraid that they won't be able to kill enough. They are also afraid that they won't be able to eat as many meta beasts as we have. Wei Guanghua's words caused the head of the Thunderbolt sect to explode. Li Zongjiu, I would like to see how many people from the Thunderbolt sect you can kill and how many meta beasts you can eat. Sung Ju shouted angrily. Then, the entire Thunderbolt sect seemed to be roaring in unison. The entire sky trembled because of it. Luoxia City. Jiuzhong Prefecture. Li Zongjiu was refining elixirs in front of the Azura cauldron. Li Yun was using her improved cultivation to set up a defensive array for the Jiuzhong Prefecture. If she wanted to set up an array for the entire Luoxia City, Li Yun still did not have the ability to do so. She needed someone to set up the base of the array first. Then, she could supplement it later. That way, it would be easier for her to set it up properly. Back in the 9 cities, it was because of Li Zongjiu's help that she was able to set up such a huge maze array. If the array only covered the flowers in the Jiuzhong Prefecture, it wouldn't be a problem. It was a busy night for the Luoxia city. Coincidentally, the Li family's courtyard was a little old and had to be renovated. The heavily injured Li Jiuyan had also recovered with the help of Li Zongjiu. He could get out of bed and walk now. If he could rest for a few more days, the effects would be better. Gu Xuanwu and the rest of the guards were no longer enough to protect the Li family. With Zhou Bachuan and the rest, the guards of the Gu family gradually retreated. However, the relationship between the Gu family and the Li family was still very good. After all, the Gu family did not pose much of a threat to the Li family. With the strength of the Li family, if they wanted to destroy the Gu family, it would only take a snap of their fingers. With General Zhou here, I feel much more at ease. Master, you're exaggerating. Zhou Bachuan and the rest did not tell Li Tianqing that they were people from the ancient times. After all, there was no benefit in revealing this. As long as they could protect the Li family, it did not matter where they came from. As a result, the security of the Li family became even tighter. The members of the Thunderbolt sect on the drill ground had long been bitten by the ants and bugs. The passers-by also shook their heads. With regards to such a situation, these people were the ones who brought it upon themselves and no one pitied them. Instead, they deeply experienced the power of the Li family. They experienced the power of Li Zongjiu of the Li family. They were impressed by him. At the banquet, Li Zongjiu and Li Tianqing were chatting. During this period of time, Li Tianqing's mother had returned to visit her parents. With the Li family's strength, they could directly protect Guanxi town. There would not be any trouble. Fortunately, Li Tianqing's mother was not around. If she knew that the Li family's courtyard had been destroyed, she would be furious. If she had been hurt in the process, it would be even more worrying. What is the background of the Thunderbolt sect? Li Tianqing could not help but ask. If you want to talk about their background, they don't have much of a background. They are just a group of people who accidentally obtained a secret manual and quietly developed it for a few hundred years. They forgot themselves and did not put others in their eyes. Tomorrow, these people will come. When that time comes, the Thunderbolt sect will become history. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. No matter who the other party was or what they had done, as long as they provoked the Li family, there was only one outcome: death. Chapter 1142. Another day had passed. Just as Li Zongjiu had expected. The people from Thunderbolt sect came from afar with a mighty aura. As far as the eye could see, there were at least 100 people. Moreover, each of them had at least one meta beast protecting them. Some even had 2 meta beasts. Just the number of meta beasts alone was close to 200. Thunderbolt sect's flag was among them. When outside, one had to wear a flag. You have to wear the banner on your body. Otherwise, who would know where you came from? If they could see your flag from afar, they would definitely give you face when they knew that they couldn't compete with you. Sangjie stood on the back of a netherworld dragon hawk. He had been using such a posture all the way here. Now, everyone in Dinghuan province knew about it. An extremely secretive sect, Thunderbolt sect, was fighting with Luoxia City's Li family. An earth-shattering drama had officially begun at this moment. Thunderbolt sect's formation had deterred the world. Everyone had to make way for Thunderbolt sect. Hundreds of meta beasts. Half of them were meta emperors. With so many meta beasts attacking at the same time, it was enough to destroy Luoxia City hundreds of times. Everyone could feel the terror within. Meta beasts were here to massacre the city. Originally, the people in the city were very confident in Li Zongjiu from Li family. However, after seeing Thunderbolt sect's formation, not only did they have confidence, they even had the thought of dying. Roar! Outside Luoxia City, those terrifying and restless meta beasts approached. They had also angered the Sky Blaze Lion. It roared furiously at the sky. Such natural majesty had frightened the hundreds of meta beasts in front of it temporarily. Sangju was also stunned when he heard the angry roar of a king. There are actually meta beasts with such pure bloodline. At this moment, Sangju's heart was filled with excitement. He led many meta beasts and formed a formation in the air outside Luoxia City. They didn't get close to the city. After all, Luoxia City was the other party's territory. It would be troublesome if there were any traps. The most important thing was to force the other party out. However, Sangju quickly saw that there were more than 10 people tied up below. Moreover, their appearance was extremely terrifying. The skin on their faces and the like had been gnawed until it was full of holes. There was even one person whose eyeball was half-eaten. The most painful thing was that they were still alive. From where they were, they could see the people from the Thunderbolt sect. The sect had not given up on them. He really came to save them. Everyone was excited, but they didn't have the energy to cheer. People of the Li family, listen up. Hand over the people from the Thunderbolt sect. Also, call that Li Zongjiu over. Sangju's voice transmitted into Luoxia City. So. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Zongjiu stepped on the Sky Blaze Lion's body and soared into the air. A ball of flame rose from the Sky Blaze Lion's limbs. Can this young master of the Li family do it? He's just one person. How can he not be enough to kill these people? He's clearly a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Some of the commoners in the city didn't have high hopes for Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu's body looked so thin and weak. Even when compared to the Sky Blaze Lion, he looked so small. After all, there were too many of them and there were too many types of them. Some of them were even extremely huge and each of them had a threatening aura. However, they also hoped that Li Zongjiu could win. If Li Zongjiu was defeated, then their Sunset City would also suffer a calamity. By then, no one in the city would be left alive. You are Li Zongjiu. Sangju looked at the young man in front of him. At first glance, Li Zongjiu was indeed extraordinary. However, he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was so extraordinary about him. At least, he didn't panic at all when facing the army of meta beasts behind him. I am. You must be the sect leader of the Thunderbolt sect. It seems that everyone from the Thunderbolt sect is here. Li Zongjiu didn't even look at the army of meta beasts behind Sangju. It was as though he didn't care about them at all. That's right. Release my men from the Thunderbolt sect first. Sung Ju said indifferently. He didn't care about the rest. He only cared about his son. He didn't even care about his son. What he wanted was to save face. At the very least, he had to kill Li Zongjiu in front of him. Only in this way could he, Sung Ju, regain face for the Thunderbolt sect. Li Zongjiu raised his hand gently and a suction force summoned a dozen figures from the drill ground into the sky. Sung Yu opened his eyes with great difficulty. When he saw Sung Ju in front of him, he opened his mouth to ask for help. However, there was a loud bang. His head was about to explode. Bang bang bang. The rest of the people had their heads blown up by Li Zongjiu's power. When Li Tianqing and the rest saw this scene, their eyes widened and they didn't know what to say. Isn't this a little too arrogant? You should at least give them a word and give them some hope. This isn't playing by the rules. This is completely. Sung Yu was also dumbfounded. He didn't even react. He thought that Li Zongjiu had done some magic tricks until all the headless corpses fell from the sky and smashed into a pile of mud on the ground. You're digging your own grave. Sung Ju stared at Li Zongjiu angrily. However, Li Zongjiu smiled faintly when he saw this. With a flick of his wrist, the unparalleled sword appeared in his hand. Today, it's a good day for the Li family in Luoxia City. As soon as Li Zongjiu finished speaking, the sword in his hand was already swung. The speed of the sword wasn't fast. However, Sung Ju couldn't dodge it. Not only could Sung Ju not dodge it, but the hundreds of terrifying meta beasts behind him couldn't dodge it either. Boom! The sword aura surged. The dull yet sharp sword aura swept forward. Bang bang bang. Hence, those who were touched by the sword aura were instantly split into two. Immediately after, the aura that the sharp sword aura carried. It also caused the airflow around them to split their bodies into countless pieces. They were destroyed by the aura. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. All the meta beasts were swept away by the sword aura. The sky was filled with a bloody mist. It was as if a bloody sandstorm had gathered in the sky. It lingered for a long time. Sung Ju's body was also destroyed by the sword aura. All the people from Thunderbolt sect became a part of the bloody mist and contributed to the huge bloody mist. Everyone was killed by the sword aura. Boom! Above the bloody mist, a flame surged. When the flame appeared, it instantly burned the bloody mist clean. There wasn't even a trace of the smell of blood. Moreover, there were hundreds of meta beasts' essence cores. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and caught all the meta crystals in his hand. The Sky Blaze Lion brought Li Zongjiu's body back into Luoxia City. I strongly recommend my master's new book, Glory of the Fist King. Conquering the world with iron fists, spreading blood over the mountains and rivers, adoring beauties, conquering heroes. Don't hesitate, read it quickly. Chapter 1143. The mighty Thunderbolt sect was wiped out by Li Zongjiu with a single sword. No one dared to believe it. Could it be that everything that happened just now was just an illusion created by Li Zongjiu? It was to let the people of Luoxia City know how powerful Li Zongjiu was. Creating such an illusion was, in fact, deceiving people. What's going on? They didn't even fight and it ended just like that? That's right. It's completely different from the final battle I imagined. Some people were already imagining Li Zongjiu using his last bit of strength to counterattack in order to protect Luoxia City. After all, wasn't this usually the case when a hero wanted to succeed and become famous? Li Zongjiu seemed to be a little casual. With a casual swing of his sword, he killed all the people in front of him. Not to mention the others, even Li Tianqing who saw it with his own eyes couldn't believe his eyes. The people of the Li family couldn't believe it either. How did Li Zongjiu do it? What was his cultivation base now? However, if it was magic, it was naturally impossible. The aura just now wasn't something that a magician could create. Li Zongjiu must have killed his opponent with his bare hands. Li Tianqing and the others were naturally shocked. However, Li Yun, who was familiar with Li Zongjiu, didn't even pay attention to this battle. One had to know how many people Li Zongjiu had killed in the Haiku dynasty. No matter how many experts Li Zongjiu killed, these people still wanted to cause trouble in front of Li Zongjiu. It was already considered lazy that Li Zongjiu didn't go to the Thunderbolt sect. Yet, they still wanted to come over and fight with Li Zongjiu. Now, they had ended up like this. Serve them right. Li Zongjiu returned to the city. Why are you all gathered here? Didn't I say it would be done soon? Li Zongjiu had previously instructed everyone not to gather together and to do their own things. However, these people still directly surrounded him. This was not a waste of time. You brat, what did you do just now? Li Tianqing asked excitedly. It's just a small matter. If something like this happens again, just remember to call me. Li Zongjiu said with a smile. In the next 2 days, Li Zongjiu also arranged array formations around Luoxia city. Li Yun also stayed behind to teach some family members how to control array formations. She remembered that she hadn't seen Qi Yanran for a long time. Li Zongjiu also wanted to make a trip to the Sacred Flame Royal City first. It had been almost a month since they had left and come back. Early morning. Li Zongjiu was preparing to set off. He had also refined some medicinal pills. As for Zhou Bachuan's command, he directly handed it over to Li Tianqing. After that, he would stay in the Li family. He couldn't afford to lose his position as a guard. Li Zongjiu even specially went to the street to buy some gifts for girls. Li Zongjiu knew how to refine medicinal pills, but some of the little things that he carved were really exquisite. Although many craftsmen couldn't cultivate, they could hone one thing to the extreme. This required a lot of perseverance and patience. These people didn't know how to cultivate. If they knew how to cultivate, they would basically have nothing to do with it. At this moment, a green-robed old man shuttled through the crowd and soon found Li Zongjiu. Elderly, something bad has happened. The person who came was none other than Elder Qi Feiyu of the Qi family. Elder Qi had actually come in person. He didn't care about the dust from the journey. Even Li Muyuan said that Elder Qi should rest in the family first. In the end, Elder Qi insisted on coming in person, which led to the scene just now. Elder Qi Feiyu? Li Zongjiu still had some impression of Qi Feiyu. It's me, elderly, something bad has happened to the young miss. Qi Feiyu gasped for a long breath before he finished speaking. What? Li Zongjiu was startled when he heard this, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Tell me slowly. What exactly happened? Qi Feiyu hurriedly recounted what happened in the Xianhuang mountain forest that day. Li Zongjiu listened to Qi Feiyu's description. His eyebrows furrowed deeper and deeper. I know who did it. Li Zongjiu's eyes were filled with killing intent. The murderous intent in his eyes made the people around him feel as if they were trapped in a cage with great pressure. They even felt that someone was crushing their bones and internal organs. You just said that it disappeared. What do you mean? What Elder Qi Feiyu described was undoubtedly Wu Tian's subordinates. As for the storm that Qi Feiyu mentioned, Li Zongjiu was a little puzzled. Where did the storm come from? However, according to Qi Feiyu, these people didn't achieve their goal of kidnapping Qi Yanran, and Qi Yanran disappeared in the storm. This was also a point of confusion for Li Zongjiu. Yes, those people didn't succeed and disappeared. According to the guards at the scene, the storm was caused by the flapping of the bird's wings. There was a very powerful bird by the young miss side. The guards of the Qi family also only learned about it at that time. Who would have thought that this little bird was so powerful that it directly killed a black-clothed expert on the spot? It even helped the young miss kill her way out of the encirclement. Could it be? Take me to the scene. Li Zongjiu seemed to have thought of something. Then he said. Wu Tian definitely wouldn't send people to capture Qi Yanran as a hostage. Otherwise, he would have done it himself. With Li Zongjiu's understanding of Wu Tian, the latter disdained to do such a thing. Therefore, there must be something on Qi Yanran that attracted Wu Tian. Therefore, he sent people. If Li Zongjiu had to guess, it could be the mountain oak. Or the desolate heaven essence. It couldn't be that he was interested in the longevity tree primordial spirit. As for Qi Yanran's situation, if it was really as Li Zongjiu guessed, it might not be a bad thing. Qi Feiyu didn't say anything else and set off with Li Zongjiu. Before leaving, she asked elder Li Muyuan to explain to her father that they wouldn't be going back. The Qi family was also worried sick about this matter. When they went to the White Deer Mansion to look for Li Zongjiu, they found that Li Zongjiu was not in the country. Now Xiao Zhao was using all of his intelligence network to look for clues related to this matter. But he found nothing. When the Qi family learned that Li Zongjiu had appeared in Luoxia City, they immediately sent Qi Feiyu to investigate. Now, in the whole world, only Li Zongjiu had the ability to bring the young miss back. All of their hopes were placed on Li Zongjiu. Fortunately, they found Li Zongjiu. The Qi family was worried about the young miss' safety and had no choice. Chapter 1144. Xianhuang Mountain Range. There were no longer any traces of the place where the great battle took place. Qi Shaohan even specially sent a small team to guard here, trying to prevent the environment here from being destroyed. When Li Zongjiu and Qi Feiyu arrived, the Qi family's team was also shocked. Elder, retreat, Qi Feiyu said, and everyone retreated. It's here. Qi Feiyu pointed at a hole in front of them that had not yet recovered. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and looked at it. He slowly closed his eyes, and a vast mental power was immediately released. It was as if the spiritual energy within a radius of 10,000 miles had exploded in an instant. At the same time, the spiritual energy was condensed in his hand. Buzz! A terrifying vibrating force swept over. Li Zongjiu slowly opened his eyes. There was a powerful current surging in front of him, and it gathered in front of him, forming a light screen. The remaining image in the light screen was extremely blurry and shaking. At the same time, what could be seen in the light screen was the scene of the last battle that day. There were more than 10 people on the other side who came to capture Qi Yanran. Half of them were killed by Qi Yanran, but there were more experts lying in ambush. In the end, Qi Yanran was swept away by a storm and disappeared without a trace. Qi Feiyu looked at the scene in front of her with a dumbfounded expression. Was this a joke? How was this possible? Li Zongjiu's magical power could actually condense the image again. What kind of magical power was this? She had never heard of anyone with such an ability. However, the image became blurry towards the end. Yanran is fine. Li Zongjiu breathed a sigh of relief. Qi Feiyu was also baffled when he saw this scene. He had already been swept away, yet he still said that he was fine. He didn't even know what was going on. What exactly was going on? But in comparison, Li Zongjiu was obviously very concerned about Qi Yanran. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rushed over in such a hurry. Therefore, Qi Feiyu was very touched. This son-in-law was not bad. Young miss, what happened to her? Qi Feiyu didn't know what had happened to her young miss, so she was also extremely nervous. It seemed that Li Zongjiu knew something. Not only am I fine, I even have a great opportunity. However, it will take some time for me to return. If I'm lucky, I should be able to return within half a year. Li Zongjiu said. However, he did not expect that Yanran would have such a great encounter. The mountain seagull had used its own secret method to bring Qi Yanran to an inheritance place called the Divine Sparrow Realm. No one knew where this place was. He didn't know how to get in either. The only thing he knew was the mountain seagull. Only those recognized by the mountain seagull can lead you to the divine sparrow realm. Obtain the inheritance of the legendary peacock god. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had never seen anyone with such an opportunity. But this time, he had seen it with his own eyes. Really? It's good that my young miss is fine. Did she encounter any trouble in half a year? Go back and tell Patriarch Qi that Yanran is receiving an unprecedented inheritance. Tell him not to worry and that she is absolutely safe. Li Zongjiu said. Even he was looking forward to seeing just how powerful this girl could be. However, before that, Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and suddenly grabbed the unparalleled sword. What's wrong? Qi Feiyu couldn't help but look at Li Zongjiu. Why did he suddenly pull out the sword? Li Zongjiu directly slashed at the mountain peak in the distance. Boom! The mountain peak shattered. At the same time, two black figures directly fled into the distance. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Don't worry, none of these people can escape. Li Zongjiu coldly snorted and instantly chased after them. Boom! The two people who fled in front were undoubtedly the ones who stayed here to collect information and wait for Qi Yanran to appear again. Who knew that this wait would take more than half a month? Before Qi Yanran appeared, Li Zongjiu's domineering sword was welcomed. The two of them hurriedly fled back. Intuition told them that Li Zongjiu's strength was not that simple and he was not someone to be trifled with. If they confronted Li Zongjiu directly, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. Therefore, they had to leave first. After all, they had already obtained the information. The Divine Sparrow Realm. This was a very important piece of information. This kind of young supreme-level meta beast was very precious. Therefore, Wu Tian did not give up and still arranged for people to wait here. The figures of these two people were like two bats, rapidly vibrating their bodies. They directly shuttled through the clouds and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ordinary people couldn't catch up with their speed. Unfortunately, although they were vigilant to see if there was anyone following behind them, they couldn't discover Li Zongjiu's existence. Boom! They had almost crossed half the distance of the continent. Only then did they get close to the Wu Mountain. Since they were here, they might as well get rid of Wu Tian's forces. Whoosh! The two figures entered the Wu Mountain and immediately landed, ready to walk up from the ground. However, just as they landed, a figure directly landed in front of them. Taking a closer look, wasn't this Li Zongjiu whom he had just seen in the forest? You! Li Zongjiu directly swung his sword and killed the two of them. Bang! 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 They died instantly. The sharpness of the unparalleled sword was not something these small fries could compare with. Even Lu Baixian and the others who were at the supreme level could not resist the sharpness of the sword. Wu Tian, you are courting death in this life. Li Zongjiu immediately rushed to the top of the Wu Mountain with his sword. At this moment, he found a valley on the Wu Mountain with a bloody aura soaring to the sky. Boom! Feeling the appearance of this terrifying aura, Li Zongjiu's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Immediately, Li Zongjiu's figure also rushed to the mountain. From a distance of 100 meters, he directly cut the mountain in front of him with his sword. Boom! The rumbling sound of the mountain collapsing could be heard. Wu Tian, who was in the Blood Valley below, was undergoing an extremely crucial transformation of his strength. Unexpectedly, someone attacked him at this moment. The black-clothed protectors who were guarding the myriad beast blood pool also stood up one after another. He directly used his Yuan power to shatter the mountain peak that was about to collapse. Rumble. Violent tremors continued to strike. Finally, before the mountain collapsed, it was smashed into pieces by everyone's concerted efforts. Dust and gravel filled the air. A figure slowly appeared. Protect the master with our lives. Kill! The leading black-clothed expert shouted in a low voice. Immediately, nearly 1,000 black-clothed experts rushed out from behind him. Chapter 1145. Close to 1,000 black-robed men appeared before him. They blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Every single one of them had an extremely tyrannical aura brewing on their bodies. If they had such power, they would be able to establish a new dynasty and stand against the other 3 dynasties. This was the power of a dynasty. Ordinary people would not dare to believe that such a power existed. Even the 3 dynasties would not dare to believe that there was such an existence. In the blood pool below, there was a person who was absorbing the power of the blood pool. Outside the blood pool, there was a mountain of corpses. All of them were huge corpses of meta-beasts. Piling up here, it was even more shocking. One could easily tell that these meta-beasts were of the primitive emperor level. 1,000 Beasts Blood Pool. When Li Zongjiu saw the 1,000 Beasts Blood Pool, he was slightly stunned. In his previous life, he had heard of the existence of the 1,000 Beasts Blood Pool. However, the records of this method were only in a secret scroll from ancient times. It mentioned the 1,000 Beasts Blood Pool. It was a blood pool formed by the accumulation of the blood of the demon race. If the gathered power was integrated into one's body, it would help one break through. One had to know that it was extremely difficult to break through the cultivation of the sovereign realm. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had also consumed a large amount of herbs to refine elixirs. In the short span of 3,000 years, he had completed a breakthrough. It was an unbelievable thing for the entire continent. No one had ever reached such a level. Li Zongjiu was also the first person to do so. Now that the power of the blood pool had entered the stage of boiling, it must be that this guy was cultivating to break through. Sky Wu was cultivating in the blood pool. That was why so many demon race clones were here to stop him. Since the King of Fire and Sky Wu had the same source of power. Sky Wu's identity was also the demon race's divine ancestor. Furthermore, Sky Wu's power recovered faster. He had also mastered a very efficient method, which was to use the 1,000 Beasts Blood Pool to break through. Fortunately, I came in time. If I let you guys wreak havoc in the human world, it would be terrible. In this life, Sky Shaman's strength had grown much faster than expected. If they didn't stop him in time, Wu Tian would definitely become the peak existence of the Holy Martial Continent. At that time, he would definitely lead the army of the demon clan to devour the territory of the human clan. Just like in the ancient times, a war would break out again and kill all the humans. At that time, even Luoxia City would not be spared. Now that Li Zongjiu was here. If that was the case, there was no need to carry out this plan at all. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The thousands of devil avatars in front of him were all infused with Sky Shaman's power, which was why they possessed such cultivation. However, they were just temporary bodies. Therefore, there wasn't much life to speak of. The reason for that was because their true bodies had already died. As they rushed over, Li Zongjiu's peerless sword gently swung, and the sword light immediately shuttled back and forth across the bodies of the black-clothed men. Shwa! 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 There were broken limbs everywhere. However, although these people's bodies were scrapped, their power did not disappear. Instead, it was absorbed by a few stronger black-clothed men. Hundreds of people rushed towards Li Zongjiu at the same time. Beside Li Zongjiu, the golden dragon appeared. He managed to block all of the power coming at him. When you were in a group fight, you would know the benefits of having a strong body. Especially when you were being beaten up by a group of people, even if your reaction was fast, you would still be hit a few times by so many people. It was normal to be beaten up. If you couldn't block the power of the opponent, even if you were strong in other aspects, you would still fall to the ground. Therefore, with Li Zongjiu's physical fitness, there was no need to worry about the opponent's attack at all. Rampaging all the way, he could kill dozens of people with a single sword. These dozens of people were all experts comparable to the primitive emperor realm. Moreover, most of them were at the late stage of the primitive emperor realm. Sword chi vibrated. The battle lasted for half an hour. There were no more mountains above 100 meters in the surroundings. All of them had collapsed in the battle just now. Nearly 1,000 black-clothed men, only 3 of them were left now. The 3 people in front of him had swallowed most of the people's power and condensed it into themselves. At the same time, they each had a treasure in their hands. Obviously, Sky Wu also focused on training these 3 people. In the future, they would definitely be powerful doppelgangers. Just like the doppelgangers he met in the Haiku dynasty that day. These 3 people were also the last trump card left by Sky Wu. Moreover, the 3 of them were more focused on defense. The treasures in their hands were also treasures of the demon race. A white bone trident, a ghost tooth necklace, and a skeleton staff. When the power of the 3 treasures clashed together, immediately, a white bone barrier was formed and directly enveloped Li Zongjiu. Countless white bones immediately entrenched themselves under Li Zongjiu's feet. They struggled as if they wanted to merge with Li Zongjiu and become white bones. Immediately, Li Zongjiu released the dragon soul power without hesitation. The white bones in the surroundings were easily shattered. Boom! On the unparalleled sword, the power of the fire ancestor spread out and burned the white bones in front of him. With the appearance of the power of the fire ancestor, the 3 black-clothed men seemed to have suffered heavy injuries. Originally, they had been maintaining the white bone barrier. When the power of the fire ancestor burned the white bone barrier immediately collapsed and broke. They had been entangled with these doppelgangers for too long. Li Zongjiu was also a little irritated. He put away the unparalleled sword. Immediately, Li Zongjiu raised his hand and a vast amount of elemental energy erupted from his palm. Buddha's palm. The Buddha's palm was like 10,000 tons of seawater pouring down, directly swallowing the 3 people in front of him. It had disappeared completely. And at this moment, the power of these people actually returned to Sky Wu's body. With such a small amount of power, he had to recycle it again and again. Don't you think this is troublesome? Li Zongjiu killed the 3 people with one palm and his figure fell into the blood pool below. Just as Li Zongjiu's figure approached the blood pool, suddenly, a terrifying power erupted. A blood dragon condensed from the blood pool and swept towards Li Zongjiu. Boom! Li Zongjiu slashed down with his sword. Under the sword energy of the unparalleled sword, the blood dragon automatically split into 2 figures and then turned into 2 blood dragons that swept towards Li Zongjiu again. Boom! One of the blood dragons was shattered by Li Zongjiu's fist, and the other blood dragon sent Li Zongjiu flying. Boom! Li Zongjiu's figure flew out for hundreds of meters and fell to the ground, exploding with a huge commotion. Behind him, huge boulders were smashed apart. Interesting. Li Zongjiu was extremely satisfied with this battle. After many battles with Sky Wu, they all had breakthroughs and became stronger and stronger. But today, only one of them could survive. Chapter 1146. Another force from the blood pool directly sealed Li Zongjiu on the spot, as if a blood net had been opened. Immediately, Li Zongjiu exerted all his strength and broke through the blood net in front of him. His right hand held the sword. His left hand held the black dragon hammer. As the hammer landed on the ground, the thunderbolts surged. Like a surging cold light, the thunderbolts rushed forward directly. In the blood pool, Sky Wu was still fusing his power. However, Li Zongjiu had disrupted him many times, which made Sky Wu extremely unhappy. Li Zongjiu was always causing trouble here, which would affect his state. Kid, do you really think I can't kill you? Sky Wu's angry voice came from the blood pool. Kill me? You think you can? Li Zongjiu waved his hand. The 8 burning soul pillars fell on the 4 sides of the blood pool with a boom. The burning soul pillars were personally refined by Sky Wu. He didn't expect that they would be used by Li Zongjiu. Sky Wu couldn't bear it anymore. Then, he slammed his palm into the pool of blood. Suddenly, the blood pool was filled with the smell of blood, and a blood shadow doppelganger condensed above the blood pool. When the blood shadow doppelganger appeared, the first thing it dealt with was the 8 burning soul pillars. 8 blood vines came out from the blood pool, wrapping around the burning soul pillars. These burning soul pillars were refined with my heart's blood. Do you think you can control them just because you want to? Sky Wu said coldly. The blood vines released their power, pulling the 8 burning soul pillars out. They pulled the pillars out from the ground. Li Zongjiu held the unparalleled sword in his hand, and the fire ancestor's fire condensed on the sword. The sword energy fell immediately. With a loud boom, Sky Wu's blood shadow doppelganger used his blood palm to resist, but it was directly cut by the sword. This is the unparalleled sword. The sword energy surged, instantly shattering Sky Wu's blood shadow doppelganger. Blood Dragon Soul. Li Zongjiu turned around and transformed into the blood dragon soul. Suddenly, he plunged into the blood pool. Immediately, he began to plunder the power of the myriad beast blood pool. The blood dragon soul was born from blood. The stronger the blood chi, the stronger the power of the blood dragon soul, and the more ferocious the battle. As the blood dragon soul surged over, it devoured most of the power in the blood pool. This made Sky Shaman, who was slowly absorbing the power of the blood pool, fly into a rage. Bastard! How dare you steal the power of my blood pool? Wu Tian was extremely furious. This blood pool didn't only contain the blood of meta beasts, it also contained the spiritual herbs that he had collected over the years. Using all sorts of methods, he spent a great deal of effort to create the blood pool. Who would have thought that Li Zongjiu would step in at such a time? Originally, he wanted to obtain the matchless treasured sword. He would be able to complete the task with one of his clones. His original body was using the myriad beast blood pool to achieve a breakthrough. Once he obtained the matchless treasured sword, his strength would increase exponentially. No one in the entire Xinggu continent would be a match for him. Who would have thought that the King of Fire would be robbed halfway and his clone would be killed? Now, his number one enemy had brought his matchless treasured sword to fight with him for the power of the blood pool. It was equivalent to his hard work. They had all been robbed by Li Zongjiu on the way. This made Sky Shaman extremely unhappy. Where did this damn brat come from? How dare he go against me at every turn? How could Sky Shaman be a match for the blood dragon soul in the blood pool? In the blood pool, the blood dragon soul seemed to have returned to its home. Facing Sky Shaman's attack, the blood dragon soul didn't bother with him at all. Its body swayed and dodged Sky Shaman's attack. Then, it began to absorb the power of the blood pool. It greedily absorbed. The power of the blood dragon soul continued to increase. This naturally meant that Li Zongjiu's strength was gradually becoming more terrifying. The two of them fought for the power of the blood pool at the bottom of the blood pool. 4 hours later, Wu Tian's figure jumped out of the blood pool. At the same time, Li Zongjiu also rushed out. The blood dragon soul slowly disappeared. There wasn't the slightest trace of the tainted blood on his body. The feeling of my previous life is back. Li Zongjiu clenched his fists. He looked at his hands in disbelief. Sky Shaman, I really don't know how to thank you. As a token of my gratitude, I won't let you die too painfully. Originally, Sky Shaman was arrogant. Li Zongjiu was prepared to torture him. But who would have thought that Sky Shaman would send him gifts one after another? This made Li Zongjiu feel very embarrassed. He had to give him something in return. Li Zongjiu. I, Sky Shaman, swear by my strength that if I can't kill you today, I will destroy myself. Sky Shaman said coldly. He glared at Li Zongjiu. However, Sky Shaman wasn't too flustered and exasperated. He had already calmed down. Li Zongjiu had ruined too many of his plans. He shouldn't have allowed this scourge to continue living. But he actually let him live until now. This was a mistake that Sky Shaman shouldn't have made. He should have killed Li Zongjiu as soon as possible. There's no need to destroy yourself. You won't live past today. I said it. Li Zongjiu's voice faded. He actually put away the unparalleled sword and charged at Sky Shaman with only his fists. Boom! His fists shook. The space seemed to be torn apart by Li Zongjiu's fists. A black light flashed around Sky Shaman's body, and a black cloak appeared on his body. There seemed to be thousands of ghosts wailing on the cloak. The screams of the ghosts filled the air. Ghost cloak. Endless ghosts. The cloak suddenly swept up, bringing the two of them into a world of endless darkness. Li Zongjiu's body shone with a golden light. He threw a punch into the void. Immediately, a hole was torn open in the space, revealing the outside world. But soon, Sky Shaman's power attacked. Countless ghosts occupied Li Zongjiu's body, biting and gnawing at Li Zongjiu's body. There were even ghosts that wanted to enter Li Zongjiu's spiritual world. They wanted to devour Li Zongjiu's spiritual energy. Unfortunately, the malevolent power was incapable of harming Li Zongjiu in the slightest. A palm shot out. Sky Shaman, who was hiding in the darkness, was hit by Li Zongjiu's palm. His whole body rushed out of the dark ghost array and flew out. How is this possible? Sky Shaman, who was hit, stared angrily. Half a month ago, when he fought with Li Zongjiu in Feiyue City, this guy's strength wasn't enough. If it wasn't for the King of Fire, Li Zongjiu would have been torn apart by Sky Shaman. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was able to force him back with a palm. Chapter 1147. Powerful blood qi swirled around Sky Wu. Being pushed back by Li Zongjiu with a single palm strike was something that shouldn't have happened. From the very beginning, Sky Wu had never looked Li Zongjiu in the eye. In Sky Wu's eyes, Li Zongjiu was nothing more than a grasshopper jumping up and down. How could Li Zongjiu, a supreme being in the sky, fight him? Sky Wu's previous life was the sacred ancestor of the demons. Even in the human race, he was equivalent to an absolute saint. With such cultivation and a glorious history, he was just like Li Zongjiu when he'd just been reborn. He didn't take anyone seriously. However, Sky Shaman's nature was different from Li Zongjiu's rebirth. Li Zongjiu had retained his wisdom and will from his previous life, while Sky Shaman had only awakened his memories from his previous life. His memories of his previous life had already been split into two. Not only had he turned into Sky Wu, but he'd also turned into King of Fire. If the two of them worked together and one day reached the absolute saint realm, then even Li Zongjiu might not be his match. But now, Sky Wu was just a dabbler. It's been a long time since I've fought for real. It seems that the world has long forgotten how terrifying the demons are. Sky Wu roared to the sky, and the blood qi around his body started to swirl around. A vortex appeared in front of him, and within the vortex, a giant blood-red sword appeared. Wu Tian stretched out his hand and grasped the giant blood-red sword in his hand. Tens of thousands of feet of blood qi surged out of Sky Wu's body. This sword is called the Thousand Slaughter Sword. It was refined with the blood of 100,000 humans. I haven't used it in a long time. Today, I'll use your head to refine my sword. Wu Tian said, his tone filled with pride. It was refined with the blood of 100,000 humans. An invisible murderous aura pressed down on him. Ha, do you see this fingernail of mine? I once used this fingernail to kill millions of devils. Do you believe me? Li Zongjiu raised his pinky finger and showed it to Sky Shaman. Was killing 100,000 people that impressive? He even dared to show off in front of Li Zongjiu. He had to teach Sky Wu a lesson. Wait till I chop off your head. Let's see if you can still jump around. Sky Wu said coldly. He grabbed the Thousand Slaughter sword with both hands and slashed it forward. Boom! The overbearing power of qi and blood. It formed a terrifying blood storm. Under the storm-like sword momentum, the aura it carried seemed to have become a bloody will that could tear the sky apart. Swish! Swish! The blood qi kept hitting Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu raised an invisible force field in front of him, blocking the countless blood arrows. The unparalleled sword also slashed forward. Boom! Unparalleled sword qi immediately shot forward. Their sword qi collided. Immediately, they turned into 4 auras and flew in 4 different directions. The explosion shattered the boulders and trees along the way. At the same time, the aftermath of the battle. It stretched for tens of thousands of miles. After the collision of sword qi, the two figures suddenly approached each other. When they got closer, their sword momentum clashed with each other. The terrifying power fought against each other. One had to admit that Sky Wu's combat power was quite strong. The power of the Thousand Slaughter sword in his hand was also above that of the unparalleled sword. Sky Wu slashed down. Although Li Zongjiu blocked the sword, the power under his feet was instantly annihilated. Thousand Slaughter of the Demonic Way. The power of the Thousand Slaughter sword in Sky Wu's hand burst out and swept toward Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu turned into a golden dragon, but he was still sent flying tens of thousands of meters by the sword. The boulders and trees along the way were all shattered, and a long path was cleared out. The golden light on Li Zongjiu's body dimmed at this moment. Sky Wu stopped what he was doing and looked at Li Zongjiu, who changed in front of him. Although Li Zongjiu suffered a heavy blow, he was actually not injured. The reason why the golden light dimmed was because Li Zongjiu had merged the power into his body. Original spirit possession. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's body was not only glowing with golden light, but all the light was also completely restrained. The power merged into his body. His body, however, turned golden. The only thing that didn't change was the color of Li Zongjiu's eyes. There seemed to be an even more powerful force in Li Zongjiu's eyes, protecting Li Zongjiu's eyes from being occupied by other forces. Useless effort. Sky Wu burst out with 10 times the power from before and rushed toward Li Zongjiu. When he pointed the Thousand Slaughter sword in his hand, the surrounding space seemed to be cut open. There was no way to block Sky Wu's power, so it shattered. Facing Sky Wu's attack, Li Zongjiu only raised his hand. When he raised his hand, his right hand seemed to faintly reveal the power of the Blood Dragon's soul hidden under his arm. Even the Blood Dragon's soul directly merged into Li Zongjiu's body. Clang! Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the Thousand Slaughter sword in Sky Wu's hand. At this moment, the shattered space around him also gradually recovered. This was a battle of strength. No matter how tyrannical the opponent's power was, even if the space was shattered, Li Zongjiu could repair the shattered space with a light move. Is that all you have? Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. Li Zongjiu never liked to waste too much time on battles. After grabbing the Thousand Slaughter sword, his palm struck towards Sky Wu's head. Sky Wu had no time to pay attention to the Thousand Slaughter sword. He immediately gave up on the sword and rushed back. However, Li Zongjiu's palm was faster than expected. It directly hit Sky Wu's body and accelerated him backward. Bang! He flew tens of thousands of meters away. He even crashed into a mountain 10,000 meters away, creating a human-shaped tunnel. Sky Wu was extremely angry after being hit by the palm. He immediately grabbed the mountain that was more than 100 feet in front of him and lifted it up. He immediately lifted the mountain and smashed it toward Li Zongjiu. Moving mountains at the slightest move. Only Supreme Being experts could reach this level. If the two of them were to fight in a city, any city would be destroyed. It would be reduced to a pile of ruins. After approaching, Sky Wu also smashed the mountain in his hand toward Li Zongjiu. Boom! The friction between the mountain and the air could be seen at the top of the mountain, causing intense sparks to erupt. Li Zongjiu casually tossed the Thousand Slaughter sword to the side, and his figure flashed away. Burning Desolation Fist. Li Zongjiu rushed to the mountain and suddenly smashed down with his fist. The mountain in front of him immediately shattered. It exploded one after another. The power spread out in all directions. Boom! The mountain shattered into countless pieces of stone. At this moment, Sky Wu had already approached Li Zongjiu and was about to launch a sneak attack on Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu grabbed him by the throat. "You're too slow." Li Zongjiu locked Sky Wu's throat. Staring at Li Zongjiu's eyes at close range, Sky Wu seemed to feel that his strength was constantly overdrawing and leaking out. It was as if his body had become a very large ball with a hole in it. It was continuously dispersing its own power in all directions. "You? Who are you?" Sky Wu could clearly feel that Li Zongjiu was currently devouring his strength. How could an ordinary human have such strength? What was Li Zongjiu's background? He was the energy incarnation of an ancient demon. The sacred ancestor of the devil race had used this method to escape being sealed. Because his body had split into two, he was no longer a true devil. In fact, the current Sky Shaman had already refined the power of the human race. He had perfectly merged the two forces into one. One had to admit that the demon race was a very tenacious race. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, this big pervert, they had no chance of turning the tables. Remember this sovereign's name, Evil Lord. Li Zongjiu completely refined Sky Wu's strength. When he came out of the blood pool, Li Zongjiu's strength had already entered the Supreme Being realm. But now, Sky Wu's absorption of the blood pool's energy had yet to truly merge. Of course, he couldn't resist Li Zongjiu's devouring power. The demon race is indestructible. As soon as Sky Wu's voice fell, Li Zongjiu absorbed all of his strength. Sky Wu's corpse didn't immediately disappear. Instead, it tried to use the last bit of the demon's origin energy to escape. However, something flew out from Li Zongjiu's chest and instantly collected the last bit of origin energy. The demon-suppressing ruler. The object that flew out was precisely the demon-suppressing ruler. After collecting Sky Wu's corpse, the demon-suppressing ruler automatically returned to Li Zongjiu's chest. This demon-suppressing ruler is a little interesting. Li Zongjiu was a little uncertain about the demon-suppressing ruler and Black Dragon Hammer. These two things seemed to have their own spirituality. Now, Li Zongjiu's strength wasn't enough to completely control them. This made Li Zongjiu extremely unconvinced. However, one day, he would definitely let the demon-suppressing ruler and Black Dragon Hammer display their true power in his hands. At this point, Sky Wu's bloodline was completely destroyed. No one watched this unprecedented battle. This battle was even brought forward several thousand years. Originally, Sky Wu should have become a true supreme being, even dominating the entire Xinggu continent for a period of time. Now, he was reduced to a pile of ashes. Even his corpse wasn't left. It was suppressed by the demon-suppressing ruler. Otherwise, Sky Wu's body would have been left outside. If the demon race contributed their strength, Sky Wu would have been resurrected again. Ding! A storage ring fell to the ground. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and held it in his hand, carefully observing it. A demon storage ring? Chapter 1148. Li Zongjiu looked at the demon clan's storage ring in his hand. It exuded a sharp aura. When Li Zongjiu opened the contents of the storage ring and admired it, he was shocked by Wu Tian's collection. How many resources did this bastard take? Even with Li Zongjiu's experience, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Grade 6 herbs were the lowest grade, but there was a dazzling array of them, piled up like a mountain. Grade 7 herbs exceeded 30,000. Even the 8th grade medicinal herbs had reached 8,000 in value. As for the grade 9 herbs that Li Zongjiu dreamed of, there were close to 1,000 of them, some of which were even 100,000 years old. This collection was comparable to Li Zongjiu's collection in his previous life when he was at his peak. Of course, in the process of collecting them, many of them were refined into elixirs. This was an immeasurable value. Damn it, how many resources did he waste? Li Zongjiu wished he could grab Wu Tian and stab him a few times. This was simply a waste of resources. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu held these things in his hands. Fortunately, I came to save you. At least I have something to do now. Li Zongjiu was extremely gratified. Immediately, his figure rose into the air. With a flick of his finger, a flame energy landed on the ground. The surrounding area was set ablaze. After all, he didn't know if there were any remnants of the demon clan hiding here. It was better to burn the place first. Otherwise, the demon clan would be very difficult to deal with. They would revive at the drop of a hat. No one knew where these demons got such a strong and vigorous life force from. With the 1,000 slaughter sword, Li Zongjiu directly flew towards the sacred flame royal city. Boom! Once Xiao Chen's figure disappeared, the flames below would automatically extinguish after burning for 3 days and 3 nights. Sacred Flame Royal City. Li Zongjiu's return made everyone in the White Deer Mansion excited. However, Xiao Xiao had already instructed that the young master's whereabouts couldn't be easily revealed. Everyone had to keep it a secret. Li Zongjiu's hasty return didn't affect the White Deer Mansion too much. For example, Li Zongjiu didn't need to personally worry about the 14th prince. The White Deer Mansion had already made their stance clear. They would support the 14th prince. Many of the family heads in the city also took their positions. First was the Qi clan of the 4 great clans. Originally, the Qi family wouldn't be involved in the imperial court. However, after some consideration, Qi Shaohun made the announcement without hesitation. This was because the Qi family was now tied to Li Zongjiu's White Deer Mansion. With the Qi family's current state, they needed to continue making breakthroughs. Otherwise, they would only be stuck in their old ways. Sooner or later, he would be eliminated. After that, the Zhao clan, one of the 4 great clans, also had a strong inclination. The Shi clan was relatively low-key. They tried their best not to get involved in the imperial court. However, if they really needed to show their stance, they would still follow the Qi clan. Among the 4 great clans, the Zhao clan was closely behind the White Deer Mansion. In the end, the White Deer Mansion had many collaborations. As for the last clan, the Jiang clan, they were gradually unable to keep up with the pace. However, they were all business families after all. They valued harmony and harmony. It was extremely unwise to cause a massacre in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Next was Wang Ding. He had successfully become the commander of the City Guard Legion. Although he couldn't be considered to be able to cover the sky with a single hand, the White Deer Mansion was still a force to be reckoned with in the entire Sacred Flame Imperial City. Moreover, in most cases, Li Zongjiu didn't want to be the emperor. Otherwise, he could have directly entered the palace and easily removed Emperor Xingyan's head. After giving a few instructions, Li Zongjiu began to cultivate in his cultivation room. First, he stole most of the energy from the blood pool. Then, he absorbed Wu Tian's energy. Therefore, he needed to refine it properly. This time, Li Zongjiu cultivated in seclusion for a total of 20 days. 3rd grade sovereign. I guess I've recovered 20% of my strength from my previous life. Li Zongjiu felt his current state. Now that his strength had recovered, Li Zongjiu finally felt a sense of security. In this life, his cultivation had recovered a little too quickly. Now, he needed to stabilize his strength. Although Li Zongjio desperately wanted to break through to the absolute saint realm, he also knew the importance of stabilizing his strength. If he was too anxious to reach the heavens in a single step, he would end up like Wu Tian. He wouldn't be able to control the strength in his body at all. He tried to use the myriad beast blood pool to increase his strength, but even if he forcefully increased his strength, it wouldn't be very powerful. Only by truly controlling one's strength could it be considered his own strength. The blood dragon soul has reached the sovereign realm. As for the other 2 dragon souls, I still need to put in some effort. Li Zongjio naturally had a way to increase the white dragon soul's mental strength by refining pills. However, if he wanted to increase the golden dragon soul's mental strength, he had to find an extreme external environment to give himself pressure to break through. First, I'll reach the sovereign realm within half a year. Then, I'll see how Yanran is doing. If she comes back, I'll be able to go to the Eldritch Land and find more pressure to break through the ancient golden body technique. Li Zongjio already had plans in mind. In the palace, Emperor Xingyan was also very angry about the recent events in the White Deer Mansion. Previously, the White Deer Mansion was still well behaved. Although they killed many influential people in the city, they were all people that Emperor Xingyan wanted to get rid of. Who knew that the White Deer Mansion would become more and more excessive? They directly interfered with the fight for the position of Crown Prince. Did they want the future of Emperor Xingyan's empire to become Li Zongjio's wedding dress? Therefore, Emperor Xingyan hurriedly sought out the military advisor. Military advisor, look, I've already said that Li Zongjio will become a disaster. He has already begun to influence the overall situation of our dynasty. In the future, no one in our dynasty will be able to suppress him. Emperor Xingyan was clearly very angry. The military advisor was also in a difficult position. Although Li Zongjio had no intention of competing for the throne, his strength had already affected the stability of his dynasty. There were even some officials who had begun to gradually contact the White Deer Mansion and follow the lead of the White Deer Mansion. I'll look for him again and make a decision on this matter, the military advisor said. Li Zongjio's influence was great. It was said that he had already established a great foundation in the Haiku dynasty. The news that came back was enough to make them pay attention. If Li Zongjio really had any special intentions, then they could only fight a decisive battle with Li Zongjio. Even if they had to pay a great price, they had to eliminate Li Zongjio. That shameless brat actually wants to propose marriage to me. After dealing with Li Zongjio, we'll take the opportunity to eliminate Kun Castle. He has kept Kun Castle for too long and has forgotten his own worth. He actually dares to reach his hands into the bloodline of the imperial family. Emperor Xingyan said coldly. Recently, that damned Kun Erasure relied on the White Deer Mansion and Kun Castle as his backing. He actually wanted to propose marriage to Princess Jingan. Even when this matter was spread, many people in the royal city came to watch the show. This was Emperor Xingyan's only daughter. One could imagine how great Kun Arashi's power and status would be if he married Princess Jingan. Among these princes, no one knew how many would survive in the end. However, because of the special nature of Kun Castle's identity, Kun Arashi's actions were quite willful. It might bring disaster to Kun Castle. Speaking of which, Lan Kun was also very worried recently. Because he had been collecting protection fees all day long, Kun Erasure had a rich foundation. In addition, his recent cultivation breakthrough was not bad, and he had made some achievements in the area of elixirs. Under the influence of love, he directly wanted to propose marriage to Princess Jingan. She was Shueiyue. Who would have thought that after Shui Yu had just spoken to her imperial father, she would be directly confined? At the same time, a few experts among the imperial bodyguards came to warn Kun Erasure. They told Kun Erasure not to ask for a rebuff. At the same time, they told him to think for his family and not to cause more trouble. Otherwise, he would have to bear the consequences. Although the original words were not like this, the meaning was very accurate. Kuan Erishur, who was depressed, was also a little discouraged. Recently, he had been drinking in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower and had become an alcoholic. Palace Master Yunqi saw Kuan Erishur's state and felt a little helpless. It was too easy to attack a man. If you drink here every day, will your woman be able to return to your side? What's the use even if I work hard? Kuan Erishur was drunk in the wine jar. That day, they naturally fought. Kuan Erishur was easily crushed by the other party. No matter how brave he was, it was useless. If he couldn't win, he couldn't win. If he wasn't qualified, he wasn't qualified. What? A mere imperial palace is blocking your way? If that's the case, I'll tear down the walls of this palace tonight. A voice came from the door. When he heard this voice, Kuan Erishur's entire body quivered. Boss. Chapter 1149. Kuan Erishur got up. Although he was drunk, he instantly sobered up when he heard Li Zongjiu's voice. After getting up, Kuan Erishur looked quite ashamed. The wine had caused his body to fall into a state of overdraft. He had been in such a drunken state for the past few days, but Kuan Erishur did not feel relieved at all. On the contrary, drinking to drown his sorrows became even more sorrowful. Li Zongjiu also just learned about this matter. It was Xiao Zhao who mentioned it to him. Originally, Li Zongjiu wanted to refine elixirs, but he put everything aside and came to find Kuan Erishur. Knowing that the latter was depressed, Li Zongjiu did not say much. He just sat on the ground, picked up a bottle of wine and drank with Kuan Erishur. It's normal for young people to suffer a little setback, Li Zongjiu said with a smile. The reason why Kuan Erishur did not seek Li Zongjiu's help was not difficult to guess. Now, Li Zongjiu's White Deer Mansion had become a thorn in the imperial court's side because of its own development. If he started at this time, Li Zongjiu might be placed on the opposite side of the imperial court. For Kuan Erishur, this was something that should not be done. Kuan Erishur also smiled bitterly and drank with Li Zongjiu. When Palace Master Yunqi saw the two brothers, she felt that they were like brothers in distress. Li Zongjiu was now in a high position, but he was still so close to Kuan Erishur and did such a boring thing. It could be seen that Li Zongjiu was really a sincere person. She ordered her subordinates to cook a table of good dishes for the two brothers. If you two want to drink, drink well. Lady boss, bring out the best wine you have in your shop. Li Zongjiu greeted him. Yunqi bowed slightly and then went to open his wine cellar. At the same time, he took out a jar of 18-year-old new Hong. Among all the types of wine, this wine was undoubtedly the best. When it came to new Hong, the best wine was 18 years old. It would be too old if it was older, and too young if it was younger. Pass down the order. The Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion is not open to the public today. Yes, madam. Han Shuang and Han Shui were also helpers in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. When they were outside, they were called Lady Boss, but when they were inside, they were called Palace Master. However, the fragrance of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn's wine had long since spread far and wide. Even many celebrities in the royal city liked to have fun here. Now, because of Li Zongjiu's arrival, the inn had to be temporarily closed. It could be seen that Palace Master Yunqi valued Li Zongjiu. However, some people would not give up just because the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn was closed. Shimen Chuefeng had already boasted that he would book the entire Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn and hold a celebratory banquet for a minister in the imperial court. In the end, when Shimen Chuefeng came with a large group of people, he was told that the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn was temporarily closed. Wasn't this a direct slap to Shimen Chuefeng's face? The Shimen clan that Shimen Chuefeng belonged to. It was a clan that had recently risen, and its rise was quite fast. In the blink of an eye, the territory and business chain it had taken in the city was almost comparable to the four great clans. Some people had even begun to call the Shiman clan the Fifth Great Clan. The Fifth Great Clan had appeared in the royal city because of the Shiman clan's participation. Some people had also heard that only a small part of the Shiman clan had come to the city and started to build a business chain. They were quite outstanding in all aspects and had already established many connections. Today's banquet was hosted by a group of civil officials. As long as this official stamped his seal and received the approval, the Shiman clan would be able to gain a firm foothold in the royal city. The other party naturally demanded an exorbitant price, and this matter was most likely settled. Who would have thought that at the last moment, this would actually happen? Wasn't this clearly a slap to the Shiman clan's face? Ask your lady boss to come out. I want to see who dares to book the Shiman clan's place. So many people were blocked outside the door. If he did not show his power today, the Shiman clan would not be able to survive in the future. Most importantly, if he were to be slapped in the face today, this business deal would most likely be ruined. Shiman Chuefeng turned around and smiled apologetically at the minister who already had a bad expression. Lord Chu, don't worry. The Shiman clan will handle this matter properly. It's best to settle it quickly. Official Chu didn't have a good expression on his face. He, the dignified secretariat, was actually left hanging at the door. Everything was blamed on Shiman blowing foam. If he didn't properly handle this matter today, then there would be no need to mention what would happen in the future. As for the small things that he had received previously, he naturally would not return them. He could also use this opportunity to extort another sum of money. Yes. Lord Chu, don't worry. Shiman Chuefeng apologized. Then, he directly ordered someone to break down the door. Ever since the 9th Prince's accident here, it was said that the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn was no longer under the 9th Prince's protection. Therefore, some people's behavior here became more unbridled. However, because of the 9th Prince's remaining power, they did not dare to act recklessly. But today, Shiman Chuefeng himself was riding a tiger and could not back down. If he did not give an explanation today, tens of billions of purple yuan transactions would directly go down the drain. Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher were drinking wine and the surroundings were quiet. Suddenly, someone directly kicked open the door of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. Palace Master Yun Qi, who was waiting at the side, also stood up slightly and prepared to deal with this situation. Didn't they say that they were no longer receiving guests? Could it be that these people did not understand human language? No need for you. We'll take care of it ourselves. Li Zongjiu indicated for Palace Master Yun Qi to sit down. Palace Master Yun Qi naturally would not ignore Li Zongjiu's intentions. The lives of Zishuan Court were basically saved by Li Zongjiu's help. If it wasn't for Li Zongjiu's help back then, Zishuan Court would have already ceased to exist. Moreover, the moon god art that Palace Master Yun Qi was currently cultivating was also given to her by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu's kindness to Zishuan Court was also greater than the heavens. Today, I, Shiman Chuefeng, want to entertain distinguished guests here. Who booked this place? I, Shiman Chuefeng, am willing to pay 10 times the price. Please bear the pain and part with your treasures. After Shiman Chuefeng and the others rushed in, they were not in a hurry to make a move. They shouted to the front. Scram! Don't disturb this young master's drinking. Kuan Erisher directly threw out the wine jar in his hand. With a bang, it smashed in front of Shiman Chuefeng and the others. Immediately, an primitive emperor beside Shiman Chuefeng stepped forward and shielded Shiman Chuefeng behind him. Young man, you must pay attention to your manners when you're outside. The primitive emperor said faintly. If you don't scram, I'll close the door and beat the dog. Kuan Erisher stood up shakily. The wine made Kuan Arashi's eyes dizzy, and he could not see clearly how many people were in front of him. Blurry figures could be seen everywhere. Such a drunkard could be pinched to death with just a finger. However, it was not good to kill people in the imperial city, especially during such a special period. Therefore, if they could solve it with words, they should try to solve it with words and not resort to violence. 2 drunkards. Just give them some money and throw it out. You must be the lady boss. Put the bill of these 2 on me. In addition, you can prepare for the opening performance. Bring out your best performance, I don't care how much it costs. Shimin Chuifeng said heroically. Immediately, 2 of his men came forward and lifted Kun Erisher. Just as they were about to throw Kun Erisher out, Kun Erisher suddenly made a move. The 2 men who came forward to drag Kun Erisher were not weak either. They were in the Yuan King realm, but their strength was not as strong as Kun Erisher. Although they were drunk, when Kun Erisher made a move, it was difficult for them to resist. Bang bang. The 2 of them fell to the ground. I don't want to leave yet. Kun Erisher had been suppressing his anger for a long time. Now that Shimin Chuifeng and the others had taken the initiative to come to him, he took advantage of the drunkenness to start a fight with the people in front of him. At first, Kun Arashi's guards were not strong enough to fight with Kun Erisher. After getting drunk, Kun Arashi's strength was surprisingly great. He injured a few of the other party's guards in succession. Finally, the primitive emperor could not help but make a move. With a slap, Kun Erisher fell to the ground. After rolling a few times, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of wine. He spat out the wine he had just drunk on the floor. You are courting death. The primitive emperor was still unwilling to stop. He stepped forward again and kicked Kun Arashi's face, causing Kun Erisher to slide on the floor and hit the steps with a bang. This caused the wine cup in Li Zongjiu's hand to shake slightly. After seeing this, Palace Master Yun Qi could not help but glance at Li Zongjiu. She was also wondering what Li Zongjiu's intention was. Get up and continue fighting with him. Li Zongjiu said faintly. Kun Erisher also struggled to get up. The primitive emperor had obviously used a lot of strength and kicked Kun Arashi's nose until it was crooked. Again. Kun Arashi's temper flared up all of a sudden. Since he had already made a move, there would be no mercy. The primitive emperor turned back and glanced at Shimin Chuifeng. He saw Shimin Chuifeng waving his hand as if he was shooing away a fly. Break his legs and throw him out from the back door. Don't scare Lord Chu. Chapter 1150. After receiving the order, the primitive emperor expert's face had a trace of coldness as he stared at Kun Erisher in front of him. A brat who didn't know the difference between life and death actually dared to give orders in front of him, and at the same time, wanted to challenge his authority. Then, I'll let you know what the dignity of an primitive emperor expert is. You can't be offended. This person stretched out his hand, and his yuan power turned into a long whip in his hand. On the golden whip, there were small spikes one after another. If it were to fall on a person's body, it would definitely split open the person's skin and flesh. Such a wound would fester if it was slightly careless. Pa! The long whip drew out a muffled sound in the air, and directly swung towards Kun Arashi's leg. Kun Erisher was naturally tied up by the opponent, and then fiercely fell to the ground. Bang! Immediately, one of Kun Arashi's legs was broken. Although it was painful, Kun Erisher had a hearty feeling. Although his leg was broken, Kun Erisher didn't cry out, and only silently endured it, enduring the pain as he climbed up. In the next second, he was thrown out again, and smashed onto the ground. This time, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. When the expert saw Li Zongjiu, who was still minding his own business and drinking wine, he had a feeling of anger, because from the beginning to the end, this brat had been ignoring him. Courting death. The long whip swung towards Li Zongjiu's face from more than 10 meters away. This whip must make Li Zongjiu remember this lesson. In the future, when he meets others outside, he must remember to be civilized and polite. Pa! Just as the whip was about to land on Li Zongjiu's body, Kun Erasure came out of nowhere. He blocked the attack of the whip for Li Zongjiu. When the whip landed on Kun Arashi's face, it immediately tore open his skin and flesh, and even a few drops of blood flew into Kun Arashi's eyes, dyeing them red. You can hit me, but he's my boss. Kun Erasure naturally knew that Li Zongjiu could block the whip, but he still rushed out without hesitation, and blocked the whip for Li Zongjiu. At this moment, he finally sobered up a little. Because he was drunk just now, he didn't even know what had happened to his body and how badly he had been ravaged by the other party. Now that he had sobered up and checked his body, he was furious. You're courting death. He had held back time and time again, which was giving this brat face. He actually dared to challenge him. Immediately, the whip in his hand swung toward Lan Kuan's head with a speed and strength that was 10 times faster than before. This blow was enough to break Kun Arashi's head, but Kun Erasure still stood in the same place, not moving his feet, and staring at the person in front of him. At the critical moment, a hand blocked the whip of the primitive emperor expert, and with a gentle pull, the person opposite him was pulled over. The primitive emperor expert couldn't believe that he couldn't control his body. The opponent seemed to have a very strong person, so he couldn't resist this move, and his whole body flew towards Kun Erasure. Kun Erasure naturally raised his hand and punched him in the face. With a punch, the primitive emperor expert fell to the ground. Bang! Kun Erasure turned his head and looked at Li Zongjiu beside him. Although he was beaten up, Kun Erasure felt very happy. Because after today's experience, he seemed to have found a kind of feeling, a direction. Shimen Chuefeng saw that the number 1 expert under his command was seriously injured by the 2 brats opposite him. He didn't know what demonic technique they used, but he was furious. He immediately became angry. You 2 brats dare to be enemies with my Shimen clan. Today, I will let you see the power of my Shimen clan. Shimen Chuefeng directly took out a command arrow from his bosom and prepared to call for help. Stop! Official Chu, who had been waiting outside the door, walked in. He was already very angry that he had to wait for so long at the door. After such a long time, the matter still hadn't been resolved. His ability was really lacking. Official Chu had walked in to show off his face. However, when Official Chu walked in, he found that there was something wrong with the scene. Because the person standing in front of him looked somewhat familiar. Official Chu, there is no need for you to deal with such a small matter, Shimen Chuefeng hurriedly said to Official Chu. Unexpectedly, Official Chu didn't even look at him. His eyes were fixed on Li Zongjiu in front of him. Suddenly, Official Chu's brain seemed to have been struck by lightning. This lowly official greets Lord State Preceptor. After seeing Li Zongjiu's face clearly, Official Chu quickly took a few steps forward and knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu. He continuously kowtowed, and his body was completely bent. Imperial Tutor. Shimen Chuefeng and the others had been in the Sacred Flame Royal City for several months. Previously, they had heard that there was an influential person in the city, a very young imperial tutor. It was said that even Emperor Xingyan had to give him some face. Therefore, when the people of the Shimen clan arrived, they hurriedly brought gifts to visit the White Deer Mansion. However, the gifts were accepted, but they didn't even get to meet the person in question. This was considered normal. After all, if one didn't have a name or a surname, why would the person want to meet them? However, the etiquette had already arrived, and they had more or less met face to face. Who would have thought that they would actually meet the person in question here today? Shimen Chuefeng felt as if a bolt of lightning had struck him. He couldn't even straighten his back. When he heard these words, he felt as if a large basin of water had been splashed on him. This time, he was done for. For the sake of Official Chu, he had actually offended the current imperial tutor. He reckoned that he was going to die. Imperial tutor, this lowly one didn't know that it was Imperial tutor who was here. Please forgive me, Imperial tutor. A large group of people directly knelt down along with Shimen Chuefeng. Li Zongjiu glanced at the people kneeling in front of him. After a glance, he retracted his gaze and looked at Kun Erishur beside him. Is there anything difficult in this world that you and I can't overcome? If you give up now, then you really won't be able to overcome anything. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Kun Erishur lowered his head in shame. Li Zongjiu was right. He was too anxious. This kind of thing shouldn't have happened. Where is that girl Shueyue now? Since Li Zongjiu had interfered in this matter, then he had to take care of it to the end. Who was this Emperor Xingyan? Li Zongjiu's brother wanted to marry his daughter, so he should obediently hand over his daughter. Chapter 1151. Hearing Li Zongjiu's question. Kun Erishur was also surprised, and then he said. She went to talk to Emperor Xingyan about our engagement, and then she was locked in the palace. Then she came out. Kun Erishur said helplessly. He sighed. Within the inner palace, there were countless experts. Moreover, a place like the Imperial Palace was not a place that anyone could casually enter. Moreover, the Watermoon Palace Master's residence was an important place in her boudoir. Ordinary people would not be allowed to approach it. Kun Erishur didn't have any official position, so he naturally couldn't go in. Then do you want to take her away, or do you want me to put some pressure on Emperor Xingyan so that he will marry his daughter to you? Li Zongjiu said this in front of everyone. When the name of Emperor Xingyan was mentioned, official Chu almost directly knelt down. After all, this was the name of the great emperor, and it couldn't be casually talked about. If it was passed to Emperor Xingyan's ears, he would exterminate your entire family in minutes. And what Li Zongjiu said just now was to put some pressure on Emperor Xingyan. Shimen Chuefeng and the others knelt on the ground, trembling. The strength of this imperial tutor in front of them seemed to be more terrifying than they imagined. I'm fine with anything, but I'm mainly asking for Shueyu's opinion. Kun Erishur said with a frown. Kun Erishur knew that Li Zongjiu always meant what he said. So as long as Li Zongjiu said it, he would definitely do it. You just need to choose. Then let's go ask that girl's opinion first. You're from the imperial court, right? Li Zongjiu asked official Chu, who was kneeling down. Previously, he had heard that this person had some background. Yes, I'm Chu He, the head of the Seal Bureau, a third-rank official. Third-rank minister. A third-rank official should be qualified to enter the palace, right? Then you can lead us in. Li Zongjiu said. Soon after, he said to the people of Shimen clan. I am not interested to know how powerful your Shimen clan is. However, as for the things that were broken today, if there is a compensation for the damages, you can deal with it yourself. Of course not, of course not. Leave it all to me. Don't worry, Lord Imperial Tutor. Shimen Blowing Wind said repeatedly. They didn't even dare to raise their heads to look at Li Zongjiu. They were afraid that Li Zongjiu would get angry and seek revenge on them. But now, it seemed that Li Zongjiu didn't care about them. It was really unpredictable. The latter's temper was indeed quite strange. He really deserved to be called the Evil Lord. Recently, the name of the Evil Lord began to spread in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. Because the things that Li Zongjiu did in the Haiku dynasty would spread to the Xingyan dynasty within a few days. Not to mention, it was a rumor about a peerless expert, which made people even more excited. Take care, Lord Imperial Tutor. Palace Master Yunqi looked at Shimen Blowing Wind, who was acting like a lackey in front of her. She also felt that this person in front of her was extremely ridiculous. However, there were countless people like him. Most of them had the same temperament. They were arrogant and domineering when they had a little bit of ability. I'll give you a discount for the broken tables and chairs and a few jars of good wine. I'll give you 30 million. Palace Master Yunqi said lightly. What, 30 million? When Shimen Chui Feng heard this, he immediately became excited again. Do you think that 30 million fell from the sky? You actually said it just like that. Do you have no shame? Purple Yuan. Palace Master Yun Qi continued calmly. Originally, 30 million gold coins was already an astronomical figure. Now, the value was increased by 100 times. Now, he directly asked for 30 million purple yuan. This was really robbery. However, Palace Master Yun Qi's warning gaze seemed to be telling Shimen Blowing Wind that if he didn't pay up, she would tell Li Zongjiu about this matter. In the end, the pitiful Shimen Blowing Wind could only helplessly fork out the money. Although he admitted defeat, his heart was still pained when he gave up such a large sum of money. With Shimen Blowing Wind's reckless temper, who knew how many people he would offend in the Sacred Flame Imperial City? Shimen Blowing Wind probably still didn't know the relationship between the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn and Li Zongjiu. Therefore, it could be said that he was unscrupulous at the entrance and spoke without thinking. If this continued, who knew what kind of trouble would occur? In an extremely noble carriage, Li Zongjiu, Kun Erisher, and Chu He were heading towards the Imperial Palace. Although he didn't know why Li Zongjiu and the others were going to the Imperial Palace at this time, he didn't dare to ask. The carriage was arranged by Westgate Blowing Wind. It was from a carriage rental center in the city. Sometimes, in order to receive some VIPs, they would need to use some extremely noble carriages. If one's own family prepared a carriage, it would seem a bit wasteful. Therefore, these places that rented carriages were also very popular, as long as the quality and service were good enough. My three lords, the area in front is sealed off. The carriages outside are not allowed to enter. I can only send you here. I will wait for you here. The coachman was a polite young man. Li Zongjiu rewarded him with a 10,000 purple yuan banknote. Thank you, my lord. 10,000 purple yuan was almost his entire income for the past few years. It was simply a windfall that fell from the sky. Stop, the Imperial Palace is under curfew. Civil and military officials are not allowed to enter without an imperial decree. Along the way, there were hundreds of imperial guards on guard. They were stopped as soon as they got off the carriage. In the distance, there were still patrols patrolling back and forth. It was airtight. This imperial city was clearly a heavily guarded prison. How dare you? Are you blind? You even dare to stop Lord Imperial Tutor? Chu He went up and scolded. However, he was a civil official, so he didn't make a move. If he was a military general, he would probably rush up and give this ignorant imperial guard a beating. When the imperial guards saw Li Zongjiu, they were all shocked. They quickly knelt down on one knee. Greetings, Lord Imperial Tutor. Li Zongjiu had never been to the Imperial Palace before, so he didn't know that his title of Imperial Grandmaster was so useful. He didn't do anything, but he was given the title of Imperial Grandmaster for no reason. Therefore, he immediately walked out and showed his face a little, which was more useful than any token. Because of Li Zongjiu's special identity, these imperial guards had to recognize Li Zongjiu's appearance. This way, they wouldn't be unable to recognize him when they saw him. Chu He was in the same situation just now. He recognized him because he had seen him in the information book before. May I know why Lord Imperial Tutor is visiting so late at night? We can go and report to him. Chu He was furious when he heard this. You brat, it seems like you haven't died before. How dare you stop me? Alright, how about this? Ask the emperor to come out and see me. I have something to tell him. Li Zongjiu stopped Chu He from getting angry and said directly. When the soldier heard this, he and his companions looked at each other. What kind of operation was this? He actually wanted Emperor Sheng Yan to come out and see him. Did he make a mistake? He actually dared to say such disgraceful words. However, they didn't dare to do anything. Could it be that they were going to let Li Zongjiu be captured just because of one sentence? In the end, the soldier hurriedly made way for Li Zongjiu and the others. Compared to asking the Emperor Xingyan to come out and see Li Zongjiu, it was better to let Li Zongjiu go in directly. What happened after that would have nothing to do with him. After entering the imperial palace, the surrounding scenery didn't change much compared to 3,000 years later. It wasn't the first time Li Zongjiu came to the imperial palace. However, when he came to the imperial palace in his previous life, the scene was quite big. Who knew how many people were lining up to welcome Li Zongjiu? None of the civil and military officials were left behind. All of them were standing neatly. The courtyard where Shui Yu was located was called Qiushui Garden. There were many places in the imperial palace that officials couldn't enter. There were many palace maids and even some noble concubines' residences. The emperor had a harem of 3,000. It was inevitable that something would happen. Therefore, it had to be restricted from the route. If they were found to have trespassed into these places, they would be severely punished. Lord Imperial Tutor, Qiushui Garden is right in front. It's not convenient for us to enter. Otherwise, we will be punished. However, with your status, it shouldn't be a problem. At this moment, Chu He was also very regretful. However, he was already riding a tiger and couldn't get off. If Emperor Xingyan held him accountable, he would definitely not be able to escape death. However, whether or not Emperor Xingyan would ask was another matter. It was much better than offending Li Zongjiu directly. At least now, he could live. Alright, you can go. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and signaled for Chu He to leave. He went forward together with Kun Erisher and was once again stopped by the guards. Stop, the princess courtyard. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. A group of female guards appeared in front of the two of them. Each of them had a murderous look in their eyes and looked extremely fierce. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.